Baby, set it early.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up, the best damn Kansas City Chiefs podcast in the kingdom.
Chiefs Kingdom ACU crew, welcome back to another live podcast for that ass. And today we're here with our boy, Daniel Harms. I'm sure you guys know him over from RGR. Daniel, you're also doing some other stuff. You started a new venture this year, right? Something with fantasy football or something?
I too, actually. A ton. I don't even know. I've lost track of how many things I do now. But this past year, I took up working at fantasy, actually at Football Guys, where I've kind of tried to do more draft stuff, more film analysis for the fantasy community. And a couple months ago, I picked up a draft podcast for Cover One Sports. They mostly predominantly cover the Bills, but we are a little offshoot that's NFL-centric draft podcast that is not Bill-centric. So we do that every week as well. So it's been I got a full plate here. Full plate.
Nice. Steve.
What's up?
We were just talking before we come on with Daniel. Draft. We're tired of hearing ourselves talk about these picks, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So we brought on Dan. Dan's going to answer some questions from you guys. If you got questions, comments, leave them in there. We'll get them to him. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about the draft. Daniel, I'll just jump right in with it, man. Everybody's wondering, what's the Chiefs' plan? Is it Rashid Rice? Has this caused it wide receiver or bust? Or do you still think it's best player available? Because now that Mike Dana got signed, kind of feels like they're setting up for best player available.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that the Rashid Rice incident, whatever you want to call it, is going to impact their wide receiver versus tackle. I think those are the two positions in play. If everyone's gone, then I think corner makes the most sense still at this point. I think those three positions are what the plan is. So that's me. I would still be drafting a wide receiver first. The problem comes at tackle, because you start looking at the first round and you're like, this is a really stacked top end of the tackle class. And then you get into day two and you're like, oh, hell, all the left tackles are gone. Like, they're all gone.
Right.
There's some developmental guys, the Yale tackle. I apologize, Kieran, I can't pronounce your last name. And then Patrick Paul out of Houston. But there's not very many other guys that you can say he could play left tackle. It just there aren't very many of them. They're going to go pretty quickly. So unless one falls to 32 and you're like, all right, we can take this guy here, it does feel like it's going to be wide receiver or tackle in the first round. And for me, I've been team wide receiver round one for like ever. And the more I study the tackle class, I'm just like, guys, I'm not sure there's much else here for them to take if there's not anybody after the first round. I think I have 5 or 6 tackle round one grades on tackle, and there's some good right tackles in this class, and there's some guys at left tackle that are going to get pushed up the board. So it does become a little dicey at tackle if you don't get one at 32, because then you're like, well, 64, you're just like, I don't know, where'd everybody go?
Yeah,
right.
That's kind of what we've talked about too. It's like this draft class has a lot of good wide receivers even into the second, third round. So it's like, you don't have to take one in the first round. You really don't. But like you said, tackle, it falls off hard, pretty quickly. So we try to do some draft predictions with the Chiefs, kind of figure out what they might do. We did the first version of that about a week ago, and we brought up a guy that a lot of people hadn't talked about up until last week, and that was Kingsley Suamataia from BYU. He's more of a swing guy. I don't think he could start right in at left tackle, but do you think he'd give any value to the Chiefs?
That's my dream pick at 32. Like, if they stay at 32, I love Kingsley. Because not only did he play right tackle, he played left and right tackle in college. Like, he has experience playing both. BYU is this zone-heavy scheme, so he comes in like knowing how to play in exactly what Andy Reid wants. And I'm just like, no. Yes, give me this guy if he's there at 32. Like, I've seen a lot of mocks now where he's either like being taken around 30-ish area, and that starts to scare me. That's why I'm like, the drop off is so much after him. I don't necessarily think there's a ton of guys that you can play at left tackle and get away with it. There's some guys that I think you can play at right and left. I know Marius Mims, he's going to be a guy who goes up based off of traits because he has no playing time like at all. Right. And he's still got a ton of upside and legitimate value as a starter at left tackle or right tackle. And I think that he's a pass protection savant. He's just learning technique, and stuff like that. So I don't believe Jordan Morgan's playing left tackle in the league. You might try him there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So people are like, hey, Jordan Morgan, 32. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I've been
that's
having
not
that
for
one
me.
for a while. I was like, hey, man, he's got sub 33-inch arms. He's kicking down in the guard. He's a guard for me. I didn't like some of the film I seen of him either. Like, he was getting bull rushed by Braylon Trice a lot.
That's the thing. Everyone's like, well, he won against Laitu Latu. Yeah, he's a technician. Like, he's trying to set up pass rush moves. And for an athletic tackle, I can work with that. I'm not getting bull rushed. You get someone like Jared Verse or even any of these tackles that are these defensive ends that go speed to power. Morgan's getting pushed into the backfield, into the quarterback. So that's my issue with it as well. And I've also seen maybe Tyler Guyton starts to fall. Oklahoma tackle, specifically because he's really toolsy. But a lot of these Oklahoma guys, it does feel like they come into the league and they're like, I'm not the best run blocker. I don't really know how to do a lot of this. It's a lot of torque. It's a lot of moving guys to the side instead of getting that vertical displacement, which is fine. Specifically, if the Chiefs want to go more back to that zone scheme that they are, wanting to do. Granted, we've seen them finally, thank goodness, use more power because they have Isaiah Pacheco and they need to use more power scheme. So we've seen some of that too. So it really just depends. And I just think you should draft Oklahoma offensive linemen. They just come in the league and they're good. Like, they just figure it out along the way. So he's another guy that has potential, I think, to fall given, I think Kingsley's getting steamed. I think that there's going to be some teams that will talk themselves into have Jordan Morgan play because of that, I think, 5 positional flexibility. That's extremely valuable too. There's a couple of these players, Troy Fatanu out of Washington. I mean, later on day 2, Dominic Pooney, all these guys have like 5 position flexibility, and that's starting to become like we really like that for NFL teams. And just figure it out. Have your best 5 plays. So it definitely gets tough.
Right. Jan Fry gave it with a $20 super sticker. Appreciate you, Jan. You're awesome. Thanks for being here. I'm sure she threw that out because we had Dan on the show today. Who's not pumped up for that one? Dan, you mentioned Troy Fautanu, and when I scouted all offensive linemen, his feet remind me of like Muhammad Ali. They were beautiful. He was dancing. I love him. And once he come in with 33 and I think a 4th arms, what did he have? Let me look at my board.
He's got 34. He's got plus 34.
Yes, 34.5-inch arms. And he's putting that together with a 5.01 40 and a 32.5-inch vert, which are both pretty much elite in the category. I think he's a clone of one possibly Trent Williams, and I think he's a left tackle in this league, and I think he goes. I think he goes high, and I don't think he gets past – if he falls to Seattle, it's a disservice to what this guy looks like on film.
I think that's like the perfect, that's like dream spot for them, but they would just play him anywhere because they have Charles Cross. So they would just be like, hey, Troy, we're going to go ahead and take you. You're going to play right tackle.
Would you
if Abraham Lucas doesn't work out? If
he was to fall to that spot and the Chiefs were to trade up to 15, if you could give up this year and next year's first, would you do it for Fatanu or no? Is he that good for you?
32 picks? Yeah, I don't care. Pick 32 for this year and next year for Troy Patano. Yeah, man.
That's what I think, man. A lot of people say that was a little reach. He's not going to play tackle at the next level. And I think you need to go back and watch some of the footwork and watch. Dude, I love him. I think he's my favorite one in the draft. One more guy that I want to talk about on the offensive line. Are you a big fan of Roger Rosengarten? I've got him being as a potential day 2 guy, but he is going to just play on the right side. But I just want to get your thoughts on Rosengarten.
Yeah, he's a good player. I like him a lot. And this would be more of if the Chiefs are like, all right, Juwan, we were messing around with you last year. We said you're going to play left tackle, but we're like, no, you're going to play right tackle. And now, oh, by the way, we're going to draft the right tackle. Why don't you go play left tackle for us this year? That would make sense. Him, I also like the tackle out of the other guy, Blake Fisher from Notre Dame. I think both Blake Fisher or Roger Rosengarten are both NFL right tackles. Some people are probably going to kick them into guard depending on how they where they get drafted. But both, I think, with footwork and the legitimate strength to be able to anchor. I like their positional flexibility from that standpoint. You could also kick them into guard, depending on what happens with Trey Smith down the road. We won't talk about that, though, because I know that gets everyone fired up. But yes, I do think that if their plan is to go with Juwan Taylor going back to the left side as originally planned, then Roger on day 2 makes a lot of sense.
Right. Okay. Julia Gulia, question for Dan. She says, how long do you think we have Travis Kelce for, and what do you think the plan is? Because a lot of people see that we have going to be bringing in Ben Sinnott on a top 30. We've spoke to Jadavion Sanders. We've talked to Eric All out of Iowa and Michigan. Do you think this is the year they go after the tight end, or do you think they just pass it up like they did Sam Laporta last year?
I mean, they were never going to draft Sam Laporta.
Right.
That was just, it wasn't going to happen. It was too high, and they still have too many needs. I think personally that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 7. I think that's how it goes. And those positions are going to go elsewhere. It's just tight end. It doesn't seem to be the big plan for them. So Julia, I think Travis has 2 to 3 years left. I personally believe that myself. That's my own opinion. Specifically because as Travis got healthier, we were like, oh, okay, Trav, you wanted to take week 18 off to get healthy for the postseason. And everyone was like, hey, Travis kind of looks good. Yeah, right. It helps when you don't have these nagging injuries throughout the entire season.
Right.
This past year was the first time since his rookie season he's dealt with injuries. So he did take a little bit of a step back because of that, that bone bruise before the season, and then that ankle thing that happened in Minnesota. I think everyone kind of forgot that he messed up his ankle in Minnesota. And it was on the same leg as the leg that he had that deep bone bruise or whatever it was that he ended up having. So it was on the same one. So that is how I see this going. If he stays healthy, I think he has 2 to 3 years left. So if they get lucky and there's some toolsy player they want to trade up for in round 6, maybe with 7th round picks and future picks, or if their 2nd, 5th round pick, a guy out of Washington, Culp, is the one guy I would like to personally look at as a day 3 guy. I've been watching lots of Washington film. And I'm like, every time this dude does something, I'm like, we got effort as a blocker. He's athletic. And then he just like catches the football wherever it is. And I'm just like, I like that. I like that guy. So on day 3, I think that he's somebody with a lot of upside because he did play wide receiver first. So he has a lot of wide receiver experience, which, the Chiefs like and value at their tight end position too.
Right. Man, so my opinion on that whole thing is the last 2 draft class in tight end position have been much more like, I guess, athletic and better players. Like this year seems weak in tight end. So I feel like if they passed on one for the last 2 drafts, I don't see them using a pick in this one, honestly, because I think, players like Trey McBride and Dulcich, and then, last year you had Laporta and Michael Mayer. We could have grabbed Michael Mayer, if I'm not mistaken. Took Felix. So I don't think they're that worried about a crazy tight end for at least a couple more years. I'm with you, Dan.
Yeah, I also feel like this class, a lot more of the tight end that's not traditional. Even Brock Bowers said at number 1, 6'3", 243. And it's like, he's good. He has his limitations. Like, don't get me wrong there, but all these guys are not just like your Travis Kelce clones. Like, they're all small guys. They're 6'3", 240-ish in that ballpark. Ben Sinnott is right there at 6'4", 250. He's one of the bigger ones. 6'3", 245, Sanders. Theo Johnson's a mammoth, but when you watch tape of him, can I ask you about Theo Johnson? Have you got to watch a lot of tape of Theo?
I love
Did
Theo.
you see what I seen though? Like when you're watching Theo, he's got all these traits where I think he takes you to another stratosphere with the athleticism. Like you can just throw it up and he's going to go get it where guys cannot even think about it. But did it not seem like when he was making cuts and stuff sometimes, it looked like he was this one of the slowest people I've ever watched on certain like cuts and route trees and different things like that. Like when he's making his stem, and like it's just weird. He looked really slow and it didn't match up to how he tested.
It's frustrating. Theo's a frustrating watch. I love him because I see the vision, right?
Yeah.
A lot of this class you have to have the vision for because it's upside, it's either athleticism or they were never asked to do it in college. And honestly, Theo wasn't really asked to do much at Penn State, which is weird considering Penn State's known for taking tight ends. And getting them into the NFL and being really good tight ends in the NFL. I mean, Mike Gesicki aside, but a lot of these guys, they come in and they know what they're doing. And, you know, that I think that he's just got a lot of upside in it. You're right. It does feel like when he's turning, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, get there.
Yeah,
He just never does. He just never gets there. And then he's just
Right,
like,
and then-
oh, ball's there.
Right. And then when he tests, this dude, like, listen to this. He's such a freak athlete. 92nd percentile in height, 98th percentile in hands, 91st percentile in 10-yard split and 40-yard dash, 96th percentile in vert, 93rd percentile in broad jump, 87th percentile in shuttle. It's like this guy is a freak athlete. And then when you watch him on the field, you're like, where is it? Where is it? Like, sometimes I don't see it.
It's deep down in there somewhere, Mike.
It's in there. So maybe somebody gets it out of him. Where do you got Theo Johnson in your rankings there on tight ends? Do you have him somewhere? You got him in the top 5?
Yeah, he's in my top 5 personally because of the upside. I'm a big upside.
Yeah, he's my
I'm
number
a sucker
5
for
because
it.
of that upside.
Sucker for it, man.
Do you happen to have Eric
I hate
All
it. I don't want
anywhere
him to.
close? Do you have Eric All in your top 5?
He's not in my top 5. No.
Right. Okay. Hey, I've heard people put him in top 5 just because
That's
when
fine.
you do watch him, he's got a little bit of juice. Like,
Well, he's a
one
little
of the
scary,
fun ones
though.
that-
I watched him
also
5 years ago at Michigan too. So I mean,
Right, you're a Michigan guy. Hey, but look, he was dropping passes, but let's be honest. Joe Milton is firing them in there at 150 miles an hour.
Well, Eric All scares me because he's made of glass, but
that too. Like,
Yeah.
dude's always injured, and that's why he transferred to
Spinal-
Iowa, where he didn't have
Yes.
to score points.
spinal.
Spinal
Did you
surgery
pull the Mike
and-
Tyson thing?
Yeah, he says he broke his back, spinal.
Hey,
Sam with the 2 bombs. Samuel, we appreciate you, brother.
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate that. Kevin Cable asked Dan. He says, Dan, you promised that Clyde would not be here. Explain how this disaster happened.
Well, so this is actually really funny because it's a disaster now, right? Only because he was a first round pick. The writing was on the wall as soon as free agency started, right? There's nobody else in the room. It's Isaiah Pacheco. And the Chiefs are looking around. Well, we like experience. We like people who played in our offense before. Hey, Clyde, you looked actually really good when we used you the right way.
Right.
Oh, why don't we go ahead and bring you back? So I apologize, Kevin. I know that I said he'd be gone. And to be fair, they did not immediately resign him. It was not like, hey, Clyde, come on back. They let him test free agency. So the plan was there.
Right. Clyde had some flashes. People are really hard on Clyde, but I get it. He's a bust if you look at him from a first-round potential.
Yes.
But his first season in Kansas City, he looked okay. I just think the injury, he's never really got back from it. And look, he wasn't going to get a lot on the open market, so I think they got him back as a good price. Like you said, he looked pretty good catching the ball last year. Maybe he takes more of the McKinnon role this year. You never know.
Man,
Do you
Clyde,
think McKinnon's coming back?
Clyde takes a lot of crap, though, because he shouldn't have been a first-round pick. It's not his fault he got
that's
picked
true.
in the first round. Clyde was a day 2 guy at best, and that's what we got, and everyone
best.
freaks out about it.
Clyde
You're looking at
Edwards-Helaire.
a Clyde truther. Like I am the Clyde defender, the guy that loved him coming out. And then I mean this past year was the first time he's been healthy in 2 years, and he actually looked halfway decent. I mean, okay.
Right. Hey, well, you mentioned them actually using him the right way. So that brings me to another guy a lot of people's calling a bust, and that's Skyy Moore.
You already knew it.
I just wanted to get your opinion, Dan, because obviously everybody hates Skyy Moore now. They think they should cut him on a rookie contract, like all kinds of crazy stuff I've seen, right? But in our opinion, we've talked about it a lot. Skyy Moore's the guy you got to get the ball too quick and let him get yak. He's pretty much a slot receiver. He's not, like, the way they've been using him is not going to cut it with him. Like, do you see it that way, or do you think he's just a bust altogether?
It never made sense why Skyy Moore was like a 60% X receiver. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? I understand that you pigeonholed yourself into this position last year because you gave MVS $11 million a year, which we all knew was a bad idea. And then you drafted Skyy, then you drafted Rice, and you said, okay, we draft this X receiver, and we are going to use you as a power slot. And then Skyy, you were pretty good blocking last year. Why don't we just have you do that?
Right.
The plan, I'll be honest, I bought into it. I was wrong. I was so wrong last year about the wide receiver room. I bought into that plan. It was a bad plan. Skyy should be like 95% of the time out of the slot. Give him
100%.
3 releases. If you want to use him, short to intermediate, tough yak. That's all he was ever going to be in the NFL. And I let the Chiefs talk me out of my evaluation. That's on me. Like, that's on me for letting them do that.
But hey, you originally knew. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
everyone that watched his tape knew he was just like super quick in small space. He could make people miss. But that's all I really saw from him anyway coming out. So I wish they would use him that way. I think he could be beneficial.
It's one of those things too where it's like people are giving him a hard time because people wanted the kid Pickens.
George Pickens, yeah.
from the Steelers. That's all we heard about was Pickens.
I did too.
Pickens.
I ain't gonna lie.
And so now it's like, well, he's not as good as Pickens.
Well, they could get George Pickens this year though. People talk about Adonai Mitchell falling.
AD.
Is he not George Pickens?
He's got some vibes. He's got some vibes.
He's got some legit. We'll see if he's the head case. Like, that's the real thing, right? Like, if he's the head case, he's full blown George Pickens.
Well, he's supposed to have some of that.
Apparently, the head case in this wide receiver class is Jermaine Burton, because I see him as like a guy that has borderline first round talent, and he's fallen so low because everybody's terrified of how this guy acts. Me personally, I think we saw something where he like smacked an old lady upside the head or something.
It was after the game. One of the games, he like smacked a lady.
But what's the deal with him? What's the deal with Jermaine Burton? Because that guy, like I was saying, I think he's borderline first round talent.
Activity, Steve. That's just normal wide receiver behavior at this point.
But why are people having him dropping? Some people have him dropping out of the second round, which is wild. So what do you think about it?
I have a third round grade on him specifically because he's not developed. He's just there's a ton of raw skill. Like, he's a great deep threat. It's kind of like Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is getting first round talk for a guy who had scored 10 touchdowns on go routes last year. He does not have a route tree. He doesn't turn. So Brian Thomas, yes, he tested great. I would not touch him in the first round. At the end of the first round, you want to take a shot at it? Fine, go for it. But Jermaine Burton was doing the same stuff at Georgia that he was doing at Alabama this last year. Go down the field. Catch the football down the field from our quarterback who's just going to throw it up to you. There, every now and then you see a good route, and then you're like, there's legitimate upside there, but there's just no development. Like, he doesn't understand where he's supposed to be on the field all the time, and you can tell that sometimes he's guessing. It's like, okay, is Milroe going to throw me the ball here? Is he going to throw me the ball down the field? Do I have to keep going? And when you don't have that structure to your route, like, you don't really know. And that's the thing we're seeing with some of these Georgia wide receivers that come out, like McCole Hardman. I mean, that was one thing. He just didn't do enough. George Pickens' route tree is very limited. Like, there isn't a ton you can do with some of these players. And I thought he would develop a little bit better at Alabama because Alabama's been producing wide receivers and getting them into the league. And I just see a guy who's got really good sideline awareness, body control, hands, downfield ability, and everything else for me is a question.
Right. When Jermaine Burton started this season, he was like one of my top guys, and then the more you would watch, it's like he just could not get it together. He could not get there. That scares me a little bit because he has been in college for a little while. It's not like he's just a 2-year guy and he's out. So I feel that one. And even Brian Thomas, I think what Brian Thomas has got is he's got that elite speed. He's kind of like the J.J. McCarthy guy in a way. Like, I think you get him in there and you can mold this guy into a receiver, possibly, because it's if you're even, he's leaving, baby. That's him. Brian Thomas.
Say what you mean, Burton too. He's got the same speed.
I thought that Brian Thomas's 40 time for me, what was it, 4.34? I think it was. Let me check this really quick. Brian Thomas, 6'3", 209, run a 4.33. I honestly thought that was more impressive than Xavier Worthy's 4.21. Considering he ran it at 112 pounds? Like,
soaking wet.
Close to.
So I don't know. Yeah, but I'm with you. He's got that mid-first round talk. But from everything I'm kind of reading, though, I feel like he could be falling a little bit. And I feel like guys like Xavier Worthy is probably going to get a bump. Do you think Xavier Worthy's a mid-first rounder? Like, because when I watch his film, I'm honest. I don't care if he ran a 4.21. I don't care if he ran a 2-yard, 40-yard time. To me, when I watch him on film, I don't think there's enough film there to get this guy into the first round, in my opinion. And I've took a lot of heat for that. I got him as like I think he's number 35 on my big board, maybe.
That's perfectly fine. Like, I've got 3 first-round grades out wide receiver. That's it. And it's the big 3.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I'm like, no, you're not a first-round player. But we do this with wide receiver because need is there, right? So everyone's like, let's give it the quarterback bump. Everyone's like, well, this is a second-round grade quarterback, but let's go ahead and throw him in the first round. That's not how grades work, guys. That's not how they work. Like, Worthy, I believe he's much more than a speed guy, but I have a second-round grade on him. I mean, Adonai Mitchell, what are you going to get? second round grade. Like there's a ton of upside there.
Dude, go back and watch some of AD Mitchell's film. If he ain't getting the ball, this dude just might as well bring out a lawn chair and buy a ticket sometime.
That was with all the Texas people. I saw that even with the tight end, Jatavion Sanders. He did the same thing.
It's because he schemes. Like they go into the huddle and like, hey, you're getting the ball. And everyone's like, fine.
Yeah, I could tell that. Anytime I watch any tape on any of those guys, I would see something I didn't like about the other ones when I was watching the other ones' tape. It was so weird, but I think it's just like a team thing, like a bad cult. I don't know. But Brian Parrott,
so lazy.
Hold on real quick. Brian Parrott saying hit that like button. You guys hit that like button real quick. Get this out to more people. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on a Saturday night. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit that subscribe button. Also, happy to have Daniel Harms in the house giving some draft talk because you're probably tired of ours. But make sure to go follow him on Twitter or X. It's at @InHarmsWay 19. I can't remember the number.
He's got it on his.
That's right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, but so I guess that's the main thing. That's the reason why we really made the thumbnail we made for this and everything, because the big question out there in all Chiefs Kingdom is what wide receiver are we going to end up with after the draft? Because everyone's hell-bent on the Chiefs drafting a wide receiver. Yeah. So there's a bunch of different scenarios you can go through and try to figure that out. And of course, it's all going to be thrown out the window once the draft starts. But like you were talking, I think the end of the first round, we would like to see some kind of attack, like a play at tackle, because that seems like more of a need for me anyway. And I think you said the same thing. One thing that I've seen is people taking a tackle at the end of the first round and thinking that the Chiefs might try to trade up in the second, because they've done that. They did it with Rashid Rice last year. So let's just say that you get to a few picks into the second round and you still have AD Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, you have Xavier Legette,
maybe Ladd
McConkey. You have all those guys there, and the Chiefs could trade up and kind of take their pick at those guys. Who do you think the Chiefs might take a stab at, and who would you like to see them take a stab at?
Yeah, man. There's also a legitimate scenario when not one of those receivers is available in the second
exactly.
round.
Yeah,
that's
it's
how
so
crazy.
Yeah,
how crazy
dude.
this is. But in this theoretical situation, I still think the Chiefs value speed. I legitimately think they do, and I think that Xavier Worthy is kind of the player that they wanted McCole Hardman to be. That's who they wanted McCole Hardman to turn into, a guy who could run routes, track the ball downfield. Yes, he has drop concerns, but who in the Chiefs doesn't have drop concerns? I don't necessarily care too much unless we're going to be dropping, 8+ balls like, hey, Rashid Rice did this past year. You guys aren't complaining too much about his drops anymore. So I think that he makes sense for the offensive structure if Rashid Rice is going to be the X, right? Or he's just Marquise Brown next year.
Right.
You just say, hey,
right,
Marquise, this year, you go ahead and ball out. We'll rotate Xavier Worthy in every now and then, because truth be told, first, second round picks don't have to play right away, guys. I understand it's not a great novel idea, but you don't have to force them to play if you don't need to. I do think they're going to still bring in another veteran wide receiver, OBJ, cough. And when they do, they'll have their actual positions. It would be OBJX. It would be Z with Hollywood Brown, and then your power slot and Rashid Rice. That would be the ideal positions.
We're not going to let that slide, Dan. You just tried to horn up everybody in Chiefs Kingdom. You tried to slide that in there.
You got the OBJ going. They're rocked up right now. Hey, check this out. Speaking of gassing up everybody, Scott out here says Dan, Steve, and Michael have the best takes on college guys. Love this take on everything.
Let's go, baby.
So look, at least Scott's down. He knows what we're talking about.
I love it.
I do think because Hollywood Brown got signed, people think that you won't go at a specific player that kind of mimics Hollywood Brown, which is like you said, Xavier Worthy kind of does that. Hollywood Brown, if he balls out this year, and I fully expect him to, I mean, I put him like minimum like 900 yards, like 7 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a good year with Mahomes. I really do. But is Brett Veach going to pay him long term? I don't know. You just don't know.
I mean, Mike Dana's the first guy that got paid that Brett Veach drafted. Like, he's like the first guy.
Right. And what a deal on him, by the way, when his market value is at $15 million per year, which, by the way, that was insane. That
seemed a little high for him. I love Mike Dana, though. But as far as the receivers goes, there's a lot of what ifs about Xavier Worthy and some of those guys. To me, I think if they wanted to be safe, you go Ladd McConkey if he's available. To me, I feel like he's kind of plug and plays probably the best route runner I've seen.
I like his route running.
Yeah, man, he paces himself. He really knows how to set up DBs. I like what he does, and I feel like he could come straight in and be effective right off the bat.
Steve, hold up. There was, about a month ago, I was telling everybody there's one specific guy I love in this draft at wide receiver. And then I seen Dan post on X the other day, and I said, Dan is in my side. He don't know it, but he's on my side. Ricky Pearsall is a freaking monster, and I love him. Dan, what if the Chiefs took Ricky Pearsall at 32? Would you freak out? I think I'd have a good time.
I'd freak out. I'll be honest.
It's a little high.
He's not,
it's a little
he's not
high.
at 32.
But you're not getting him at 64.
I think he could, but again, that's a trade up. I think that he could be like what a Rashid Rice was for them. If they're like, all right, we really love Ricky, we're just going to trade up and get him in the second round.
Right.
Because he's not a first round player. But go back 2 years ago, guys, and watch Ricky Pearsall with Anthony Richardson throwing him the football. Go watch that film a little bit because everyone's like, well, this guy's a short to intermediate player who's not really asked to win downfield. He had like an 18 yards per catch average in 2022. It was a whole different offense. And everyone's like, why did he test so crazy? Well, he's a pretty good athlete. And when they ask him to do things, he's like, yeah, I got you, coach. Go down the field, win the ball. I got you. Hey, we don't have a good offense. Our offensive line's garbage. Our quarterback's bad. We can't run the ball. Get open. I got you, coach. And that's all he did this last year was just route people up. So I love Ricky Pearsall.
I thought he may be this year's Puka, and I seen that you said it could be this year's Puka.
I tweeted that like 3 months ago, and I was just like, "Thanks, guys."
Well, it got brought up because Mike absolutely hit the nail on the head with Puka Nacua last year. He was big on him. He kept saying, "This is the sleeper here. This is the guy." And of course, it's all situational because I feel like if he wasn't with the Rams in the perfect setup, it might not have happened that way, right?
Yeah,
but either way,
Carolina, right?
Right. So we were all kind of joking about it on a live stream, and we were like, "Well, Mike, who's this year's Puka Nacua? Who do you think is going to be Ricky Pearsall?" So it's kind of been a thing since then.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting on board with Ricky. I mean, come on, he was recruited by Herm Edwards at Arizona State. I mean, come on.
Was he really?
Yes. He played with Arizona State. He goes to Florida. He succeeds everywhere he goes. This kid's going to be a good player. He is 24, I believe, but you know, Brett Veach ain't going to take him into a second contract anyway. He never does anybody, so it's okay. Get you 4 good years out of him and let's roll.
Well, speaking of Ladd McConkey, though, there's another guy in the draft, and we actually predicted that the Chiefs might take a look at him, and that's Roman Wilson. He's kind of just like Ladd McConkey to me. He's just not as good of a route runner, and I think I'm only saying that because Roman Wilson has one speed. He doesn't pace himself or anything like that. Would you be mad at a Roman Wilson late second round pick?
No, I think that he's kind of like Tyler Lockett. That's
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good comp.
That's the comp I've got for him. And then I saw him at the Senior Bowl up close. I'm like, yo, this guy can run routes. And
dude, at the Senior Bowl, he destroyed.
When you look at Michigan players, and I'm a Michigan fan. I love Michigan.
Dan loves Michigan. He knew about Roman Wilson, baby.
Stand Jim Harbaugh's offense for wide receivers. I can't stand it. It took Nico Collins 3 years to break the mold that he put in his brain to figure out how to play football. It took him 3 years to figure it out. It takes a while for some of these Michigan. Donovan Peoples-Jones never recovered.
Right.
Never. Like some of these guys don't get it. And it's because Michigan's like, hey, you're going to block, you're going to run down the field. Like that's all you're going to do. You're going to do pretty much nothing else. Hey, if you're a good athlete, return punts for us. It's a archaic college offense, but Roman finally got the opportunity to show people what he could do, and it wasn't just like the bad corners he was routing up. He at the end of practice, Quinyon Mitchell wanted that smoke from Roman Wilson.
He got it,
and he tore him up in one-on-one. Like, dude, it was great.
I think Roman Wilson can flat out play.
I didn't know.
Think he kind of fits with the Chiefs.
I did not know Dan was a Michigan guy before I brought up Roman Wilson. By the way, my bad.
How did you not know Dan was a Michigan guy?
Oh, good. I'll calm down. We'll simmer down a little bit.
Dan's on board that JJ McCarthy's got to go number 1.
I think JJ will be pretty decent.
Yeah, he's picking up steam for number 2, baby. I think JJ's a good quarterback. Like I might be in the wild category, but honestly think when it's all said and done, he could be the guy that comes out on top in this class.
So my favorite receiver in this class, he's a boomer bust guy. Like completely, I'll admit that. But I love Xavier Legette. I do love Xavier Legette.
You just like his voice. You like his talking voice.
It did help a little bit, man.
He said, "I'm just going to run the ball."
Like when I heard him, I was like, "Hell yeah, let's draft him." No, but for real though, it's funny because we're from Kentucky, and I'm trying to add on to the Southern accent. No, but like with him, I feel like he has a small sample size that we got to see. But when I really got to looking into him, he had like a whole backstory. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I think that the kid's just like could be something special. He could be nothing. Like I said, it's boom or bust. But I feel like he's got a chance to be special. I saw some, him with the ball in his hands after just catching a slant or something like that. Sometimes I would see shades of like Jamar Chase when he like blew every Chief on the field out that one game on a slant route. Sometimes I see AJ Brown and DK Metcalf and Xavier Legette. Do you think the question is here not about the Chiefs trying to take him, because if the Chiefs, I doubt they would look at a receiver like that. I would love it, but they probably won't. But do you think like Buffalo could try to snag him at the end of the first round there if they sit?
Yes, I think I think Xavier Legette is very high on their board. I love Xavier Legette. I love him so much.
Yeah,
again,
me too.
Again, he is boomer bust. Like you don't. I think he could be AJ Brown. I think that's what he could be in the NFL. Ask him to run dig routes. I'm tired of college offenses asking athletic big men to just run down the field. Keon Coleman, run a couple of dig routes, please. For the love of God, do it. Please. Xavier Legette can do those things. He can run with the ball in his hands, and he will run guys over. He'll just run them over. And then when he can't run them over, he will just go up and elevate and get the football. So, but yes, I think that he is very much on the Buffalo Bills board. From everything I understand, because I'm in Cover One's group chat, they talk about the Bills all the time. They're all very high on him. So
I figured.
Surprise me.
I figured.
Right.
Man, hey, well, you were talking about that dynamic offense of Harbaugh. Like, with any luck, he'll take it straight with him to the Chargers over there.
We're seeing it right now. Hey, Mike Williams, bye. Hey, Ken Allen, bye. We're going to run the ball. Gus Bus is in town.
And everybody's like, Malik Neighbors is looking for property. Yeah, for what? Like, what's he going to do? He could just stay home.
I actually saw something earlier where everyone was talking
in LA.
Yeah. For sure.
I saw something earlier. Everybody was talking about Justin Herbert. Like, if he had an actual running back, this guy would be the best quarterback in the league. And it's like, who the hell was Austin Eckler? Did you think he sucked?
Why do you have to have a good running back to be a good quarterback?
What are we talking about? Like, Austin Eckler scored a touchdown a game with them and was one of their best players. And it's like, what are we doing here? But yeah, I think Harbaugh's probably going to slow them down a little. It's going to be different. That'd be funny if he just completely butchered them. But
now, hey, you just talked about Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's crazy? Like, I just had this epiphany. Do you think if one of those big three, like maybe Rome Odunze was to fall to 9, that's a common mock to Chicago maybe falling, or maybe Malik Neighbors slides just a little bit. Maybe Rome goes above him. I don't know why, but, I mean, they're pretty similar. Do you think Buffalo could jump into the top 10 and make a desperation move at one of those guys since they've now lost Stephon Diggs? And let's be honest, now that Josh Allen doesn't have many people to throw to, like, he's going to be exposed as a mid kind of guy, I think.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they can get there realistically. Like they don't have the draft capital, because again, let's just assume that Josh Allen is Josh Allen, right? Let's not assume he takes the step back because he doesn't have guys to throw the football to. Let's just assume they're going to be picking 28, 27. What team in their right mind is going to trade down from 9, Chicago, to 28 and say, yeah, we'll take a late first round pick that we don't have first round grade on next year and do this again? I don't think that any team's going to realistically entertain that idea. It's different for like quarterback play. If you're a team that's not going to be competing, fine. Let's just quickly airdrop Rome Odunze into Chicago's offense very, very quickly. Just Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Okay, that's like a top 3 wide receiver room in the NFL day one. Why would they not do that?
Odunze's a beast.
I think you have to put pieces around Caleb Williams to get him to be successful right off the rip. I think if you just allow Caleb Williams to go in there and just, if he don't have pieces, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I mean, come on. Like, it is what it is. Scott Crosser says, does Legette get drafted in the first round? Does Brian Thomas fall to a spot the Chiefs could trade up for? Does Polk make it to our second round pick?
We answered
Man,
the
there's a
first
lot to
one.
unpack
We
there.
answered the first one already. We think Legette could sneak in
He
the back
could
door
sneak
with
in.
Buffalo or somebody.
Dan
Bri-
answered the second one. He's not big on Brian Thomas. He would not trade up for Brian Thomas, I don't think.
The one I wanted to get to was Jalen Polk. I think that he's an overlooked guy, obviously because of Roma Dunze. So I think, if Jalen Polk was on a lot of other teams, he would have been that guy, right? So do you think he would be a valuable second-round pick for the Chiefs? He kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know, more of the prototype of like the Jehu Jessen pick or something we did, as opposed to like.
Do not.
Like, I'm not saying he's
round
that.
pick.
I'm not saying he's that guy.
He's a
but,
fourth-round bust.
I just feel like it's not like the typical guy that the Chiefs would go after, right? So, what do you think?
This would be the scenario if the one you proposed earlier, where you have all these guys available in the second round, like Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, all these guys fall in the second round, then Polk probably makes it to 64. I see Polk as a more athletic, a bit faster DeMarcus Robinson. Like that's what I think this kind of player is. I like him. He doesn't drop anything, which is fantastic. I don't see a dynamic player. I see a guy who's going to be in the right spot, catch the football, which I'm good with in the second round. I'm good with that. Like, I'm totally okay with that. It's just I don't see a ton of upside personally. That's my own opinion. But these guys all can prove us wrong every single time. Like it just depends on work ethic, coachability, and then things that I can't know. Like, how does your brain operate? I don't know if this guy's got the dog in him when he gets to the NFL. I don't know that.
Right. Like, we don't get medicals and we don't really know backstories on these guys, but I have heard some good things about Jalen Polk. I've heard from people at Washington that he is so committed to his craft. There was nights that he would sleep at the facility to watch game film. I like that. Like, if you want to get better. He asked, what about Malachi Corley?
Oh, Sam. Yeah, dude. Malachi Corley, to me,
You guys are going to like my answer for this question.
Here's what I'm going to say. I feel like if you can't use Skyy Moore correctly, you're never going to use Malachi Corley correctly.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Like, they both are those guys that need to get the ball quick and create yak. If you watch the film on Malachi Corley at Western, there weren't very many routes ran. It was more screen.
I think if you draft Corley, you just say, hey, we screwed up with the Skyy Moore pick. Let's try it with Corley again. And then let's put him in bad positions.
It's going to be the same thing. Like, if you don't use them that specific way, you're not going to get what you thought you were going to get.
Dan,
what do you think, Dan?
Let's hear your Corley. Let's go.
I'll give it to Corley. He's worked his butt off after this last year to not only get in shape, but to trim. Like, he looks incredible. I don't know if you guys have seen his post or pre and post pictures of working out, the same stuff that went around last year. I forget who it was, but they chisel down for like draft season and things like that. I don't know if he's going to play at that weight and physique in the NFL, but this dude runs worse routes than Skyy Moore. And I like Skyy Moore as a route runner, but Malachi Corley runs right into coverage, right into defense, guys. He's like, I'm running my route. I see this guy, and he just runs right into him. I don't know how many times I counted him running into a defensive player who he's trying to like bait. I think he's a scheme touch guy in the NFL. I don't see much there, but again, that development stuff coming out of Western Kentucky. You guys remember Jarrett Stearns out of Western Kentucky?
Yeah.
He was getting steam.
Yep.
Like, where's Jarrett Stearns? Is he even in the UFL?
Didn't his brother play with him there? Pretty sure. We're right up the road from Western. We're right up the road from Bowling Green. So, yeah, we grew up there. So, we know all about the ugly hilltopper, man. But I tell you what, those helmets they come out with last year was fire when they put the hill on the side.
Had him doing different stuff. Yeah, cool.
He had him. He was like doing the Heisman pose.
Well, it's funny you brought him up because there have been guys from Western that get hyped almost every year. I think there was a defensive lineman last year. I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah, there was. Who was that? No, it was a defensive tackle, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I said, I think.
Okay.
You said defensive end.
Oh, did I? Oh, my bad.
Okay.
No. It was a defensive tackle. I can't remember his name, but I think the Chiefs even had him on a top 30 visit.
Yeah,
but
I know who you're talking about.
You always hear about these people from Western, and then of course you had Zappy, and there's a couple other guys. We had one of the corners last year for a little while, and he looked good in the preseason, and we cut him. What was his name? He ended up going with the Browns.
Yeah. Jeez. Why are you going to put us on the spot? First of all, your defensive tackle was Broderick Martin.
Broderick Martin. That was the defensive tackle.
Khalif Hallisey.
I'll
get it going.
That's right. At least that's right. There we go.
I loved Hallisey too. I thought he was good.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
big Hallisey guys, and I thought that was kind of odd, but yeah, I don't know. Dan, one more wide receiver that we got to talk about. To me, I think it's
It'll be my last question
controversial.
too, and then I gotta go spend some time with the family real quick.
Yeah, let's go.
Right.
So it'll be this one. I'll make it a 2-part then. No, I'll
Okay,
make it a
cool.
6-part question. Here we go. No. Okay. To me, and this, I take heat for this. A lot of people love Troy Franklin out of Oregon, and I don't particularly love it. I think it's just kind of, you're getting a 10% drop rate. You're getting 8-inch hands. You're possibly getting MVS. What do you think about Troy Franklin?
I think Troy Franklin is a fantastic short to intermediate player in the NFL. If you get anyone close to sneeze on him, you can like blow him out of the way. I was at the combine, I saw this guy, and obviously Xavier Worthy came in extremely thin. Troy Franklin looked smaller.
He did kind of, didn't he?
And obviously he comes out that he was sick that week. Okay. All right, buddy. I don't buy that for a second at all. I think that he just didn't have the day he wanted to, and they made an excuse. I think that he's going to be a kind of like a Jordan Addison type player in the NFL. He's going to need to be schemed into space. He can't separate from physical guys. Watching him against Jabbar Muhammad out of Washington, who transferred to Oregon this year, who's also going to be a first-round pick, by the way, locked him up every single time he was asked to play physical man coverage against him. He couldn't shake it. And I think that he's just good. I don't think he's transcendent. I don't think he's going to get much better than what he is. He's a good route runner. He finds space well. I mean, for Kansas City's purposes, that's like hitting the nail on the head, right? We just need guys that sit down into space, are fast after the catch, and we figure it out later. But I like what he does. I don't see the physical tools for him to, one, get stronger and actually be able to get off of press coverage in the NFL.
That drop rate's scary to me.
Yeah. Dan, I'm going to give you one chance to guess my comp on Troy Franklin. If you get it right, I will donate $10,000 to any charity that you want. Matter of fact, I'll send it to you. $10,000 if you can nail first try who I comp Troy Franklin to, because I put this on X yesterday and
No
people
one
were
got
guessing
it?
all night and nobody got.
I don't even know what you have. Colin.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to guess, but maybe if you give me a time frame,
I will. About 1999 to 2000 season.
there's
college.
a zero chance that I'll be able to get it. There's zero chance. I didn't even really watch football as a kid. Like I was a Chiefs fan. My dad, we lived in Michigan. Like I'm not watching Lions football. Like this is not happening.
I'm going to tell you, Kenyon Rambo from Ohio State, identical. That's
If
who he
you
reminds me.
gave me 10,000 guesses,
There you go.
that name would have never entered my mind.
Man, I seen on X, you were just at an Alkaline Trio concert. What
I
you
was.
don't know is me and this guy over here, we played punk rock music growing up, and we played shows with the Alkaline Trio. And we have
amazing.
pictures with Skiba. We've got pictures with Dan Andriano. Like, we even had a Mike Feathamley who played drums on the,
From Here
the
to
best
Infirmary.
album. From Here to
Yeah.
Infirmary. He actually was on a song with us one time, dude. Like, so anytime you
That's
want to hit
amazing.
up, we've got to get together and watch a trio show.
Yes. The
Who would
answer
have
is
thought?
yes.
Who would have thought this guy loved the trio? I would have never
I might
thought
be
that.
able-
My wife introduced me to him.
Oh, nice. I might be able to weasel us into the back, too. Last time I was at a trio show, I saw Skiba. He pulled me back there. I was sitting on his motorcycle, and then he
Yeah.
stole my shirt from me because I had like I can't remember what the shirt was, but he wanted it. So I was shirtless just standing back there. He robbed me.
There you go.
Yeah.
He also sent you lyrics from a song. Which
Yeah,
song was it?
I have some handwritten lyrics. I can't remember.
It was
But,
the song with the motorcycle on the cover. Yeah. So yeah, we go back with the trio.
Oh,
a
it's
little bit.
something about St. Anthony. It's on My Shame Is True.
Temptation of St. Anthony.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
have
that
that.
one. Steve's got the handwritten.
I have where he wrote the
that.
song. Yeah, it's
It's pretty insane. But dude, when you posted that, I was like, no
awesome.
way. Dan Harms likes the trio. I'd have never guessed
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Hey, you could have got
Big
Kenyon
punk rock
Rambo.
guy.
You could have got Rambo before I would have got that one.
Yeah, you're right. So okay, that's fair. That's fair. I understand.
But dude, that's awesome. Dan's awesome. Everybody thank him for being here. Dan, we appreciate for having you. Go spend some time
Thank
with
you
your
guys.
kids. And appreciate the draft knowledge. If you want to give a plug to everything before you head out, you can do that.
Yeah.
Floor's yours.
Of course. I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a great time, you guys. Fantastic community you have here. I love what you guys have built so much. And again, if you don't know me, my name is Daniel Harms. You can find me on Twitter at InHarmsWay19. Yes, I'll never call it the other name ever. And I do rgrfootball.com. That's where all of myself, Ryan, Tracy, all of my film rooms are. I have like 6, I think, wide receiver breakdowns on there, and Troy Fatanu. We're going to do Kingsley Suamatia on Wednesday. So if you guys are interested in seeing some of those breakdowns, they'll be there. The draft podcast that I do is with Cover One. You can find it on their College Football Weekly YouTube page, and also anywhere you find your podcast if you want to listen to that. And then I will have some rookie breakdowns on Football Guys coming out, I believe, this week on YouTube, and I'll be retweeting those out. So yeah, a mouthful, but again, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a blast. Thank you very much.
Heck yeah, man.
No problem, brother. Anytime. Anytime. Yeah, you have to come back and talk about who we draft in the first round that everybody's going to hate.
Just reach out. I'll be right back here.
Good deal, man. Have a good one. Have a good one.
All right, later, bro.
See ya.
Man.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Steve, what's up, man?
Man?
Dude, it's a good time talking to Dan, man.
That was fun. Yeah, that was really good. I like hearing other people's perspective. I know I kind of hogged a couple of the questions there, but the more I kept reading about like Xavier Legette going to the Bills, that seemed hot to me. And then of course he kind of confirmed that with a lot of the Bills fans that he was talking to. So there's just little things like that. But he's also big on Kingsley, which is who we had the Chiefs. Actually, we just came out with version 2.0 of our predictions, and we still had the Chiefs taking Kingsley. So he's the only player that we've took twice already. So I like that too, man.
So I think Dan would have loved our mock draft then with Kingsley. And then this past one we traded down and still got Worthy at 34, which, like I said, he's 34 on my board. Harms said he was 35 somewhere on his board. So it's right in the wheelhouse. A lot of people said that could never happen, which I'll say, look, Xavier Worthy's 4.21 probably did pump him way up the board. Somebody will take a shot on that, but it is very possible he could slip into the top of the second. But it sounded like he really liked Roman Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I like Roman Wilson. The more I watch the guy's tape, I think he's really, really good.
Boy, he's flat out nasty. And like Dan said, when you're playing in Michigan, it is a run-first offense, and you don't get to showcase a lot. But once he got the training wheels off of him when he was at the Senior Bowl, he was unguardable. Him and Lad McConkey were right there splitting hairs, man. Good route runners. We got a Black Kraken with a 10
Black Kraken.
Black Kraken.
Good to see you,
love it,
man.
baby. He says, what's up, guys? I've seen a lot of channels talking about the Chiefs trading like a fourth for John Mechie since the Texas wide receiver is overflowing. Could be the what do you think? I actually posted that the other day. I was like, I think they're going to cut. I think they're going to cut Robert Woods. I think after June 1st, they'll save like $3-5 million, somewhere in that range. So they may develop some room there. But I was like, I wonder if Brett Veach could weasel out John Mechie for a late round pick. But I don't know if they would, to be honest, because Mechie has a little bit of promise. And he's not got to play a lot just yet, so maybe they're...
Man, I'll tell you what. I was high on John Mechie in that draft. And, of course, he's dealt with the medical issues and stuff, which is awesome. He's been able to overcome that and get back on the football field. I would be kind of excited to see John Mechie in our offense because I feel like there's a ceiling there that he's not even got close to hitting yet.
Right. Mechie was kind of rumored to be a Brett Veach target when he come out. Do you remember
for
that?
sure.
Like, it was kind of talked about a little bit.
Absolutely.
Dude, Black Kraken, appreciate the 10 bomb, brother. Appreciate that, man. It
Y'all
goes
put some
way.
Legendaries in the chat for Black Kraken and Jan Frygable and Sam Lofton.
Samuel Lofton.
Appreciate the super chats.
Enjoy talking to Dan, Steve. A lot of people say they watch RGR and they watch Dan, and they think that they're not fun enough. And I say they are fun, but you got to get it out of them. You got to get it out of them. You got to get them talking about getting horned up. You got to get them talking about music. Let it go. Let them rave a little bit about Brian Thomas. Like, apparently he doesn't like Brian Thomas. That would about be the only thing that me and Dan probably disagreed on.
Yeah, I know you like Brian Thomas quite a bit.
I think he's worth a 20th pick in the first round, like somewhere in that range. On my final big board, he did move down just a little bit, but he stayed at number 19. So I think as long as you get him right around that 17 to 23 mark, that's his sweet spot, and I'm completely fine with it because he is fast and he's big, and just like a little piece of clay, baby, you can mold him into whatever you want. I think that'll work.
T-Bone asks if you think, do you think Rice will get cut? No, absolutely not. No, Rice is going to get a little smack on the wrist, and he'll be back. It'll be all right. He's got to get himself together, though. Well, the thing about Rice is you can't do anything
never say never,
else.
Steve. We may find out that he had an entire arsenal in his trunk. It is the state of Texas, though, so that's pretty much legal. He could have a bomb. there could be other things we don't know about, but as it sits right now, no. Like, he's done nothing except for kind of be a crappy person for not checking on people. I mean, that's kind of like where everybody's head's at, right?
Well, that's the thing about it, man. It's like I said before, like, is Rashid Rice going to learn from this and straighten up?
Right.
Like,
if it's together,
if he's a repeat offender, he's doing something else stupid next year or next month or whatever, then I think we know the answer to that. But for now, I think that
some person actually told me, Steve,
you have to have a little grace there, man.
That we were too easy on him because if our jobs found out we did what he did, they would fire us. I don't know any job in America is going to fire you for a traffic offense. Do you? Like, do you think Johnny Jenkins works at McDonald's and they find out that Johnny Jenkins raced a car and got a reckless driving ticket? Do you think they're going to fire him? No, they don't care. As long as he comes to work.
Mike, are you going to fire me if I get a speeding ticket?
Probably, yeah. I would.
We got a 10 bomb from our boy Gil. Good to see you, Gil. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for the dono. Y'all put some legendaries in the chat for Gil. Mike, I still haven't got my flag.
I see you all the time. I just never have it. Do I still have it in here?
Look, it needs to go right here where my thumb's at. Right in this area.
Oh, yeah, I got it right here, man.
No, you got it.
Look, I'm going to put it in the car, and the next time I see you, if you don't remind me to hand it to you, then that's on you.
Oh, is it? Is that how this works?
That's how it's going to work. I've also got Ray Ray's jersey. We're about to ship that out this week, too. So, Ray, you're going to get that.
Or I'm going to.
Ray got a Pacheco. He almost got a Rice jersey. How funny would that have been right about now? Rolling up with the Rice jersey.
Rice. What did he end up getting?
He got Pacheco, I think.
One of us cut out, by the way. I don't know if it was me or you.
But oh, yeah, it don't matter. But, yeah, the jersey's coming. It's Pacheco. He's from New Jersey, so he's got a rep pop up there, baby.
Yeah. What jersey would you go with right now if you were going to buy a new jersey? What player?
Someone asked me that, Steve.
Put Mahomes out because obviously that's the safe pick. If I'm going to pay a lot for a jersey, like if I was getting a Nike Elite jersey, I was going to pay $400. I'm getting Mahomes all day, every day. But like, just what player? Like, I kind of like to have a McDuffie jersey. What about you?
Right. Somebody asked me this on X. They were like, "Hey guys, help me get my next jersey." They said they had Kelsey and Mahomes and McDuffie was the three they had, and they wanted a fourth. And they said they thought about getting Chris Jones, but they wanted to wait till the contract come through. So, yeah, you got Chris Jones for 3. I think Chris Jones will retire Chief, probably. That's probably a safe bet. I don't know who I would take, man. Would you go a little wild? Would you just take a 1-year flyer on like does anybody want to buy a jersey with Hollywood Brown on it knowing he's probably gone after a year?
See, that's a little scary, isn't it?
It's sketch, right? But people do that all the time. Like, people still buy, if you played for the Chiefs, I'm sure I've seen a lot of Jeremy Maclin jerseys or, you know what I mean?
Well, that's a name right there, baby. You kind of forget about old Jeremy Maclin sometimes, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
We lost a pick in the 2016 draft over Jeremy Maclin. What year was it?
We did.
Yeah, might have been.
But it helped us get Mahomes.
It did. And it helped us not get Paxton Lynch, and that's all that counts.
Jared Williams says he would get a Mike Dana jersey. Bolton's a good choice, too. I like him. A Butker jersey would be sick. Good call, Ray.
And then they get rid of him after this year.
No. I feel like Butker's nuts are too big to get rid of. Like, if you have to overpay a kicker a little bit, it's going to be Butker. In my opinion, I feel like Butker has overtaken Justin Tucker as the best kicker in the league. Like, he's just ice cold.
Well, Tucker's getting a little old.
Yeah, well,
in their primes, though. I mean, Tucker may be the best to ever do it, right?
No,
he has to be the best to ever do it.
Butker. How many Super Bowls did Justin Tucker win from kicking?
Are you really going to do the kicking Super Bowl comparison? Don't do it.
Dude, we would have never won those Super Bowls without Butker being clutch.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Hey, man, I'm down with it. Sam says Leo Chenal. Brenda says Creed. Creed's a good one. I think Creed's pretty safe. Like, the more I think about it, I don't think they're going to just up and get rid of Creed. I think he's kind of like, I think Creed's going to be a staple for the next 5-10 years. Not 10. I don't think he plays for 15, but he could. I mean, there's centers
Look at Jason Kelsey.
I do believe he'll play. I believe he gets a second contract here. I believe him and Bolton are the two priorities, and that's why I think Trey Smith might be on the sadly, because I like Trey Smith, but Hey, speaking of, though, the Chiefs just had another top 30 visit, Steve, with Jacob Johanning. You pumped over that one?
Who?
Jacob Johanning out of
Who?
the big college of Furman. He's a Furman Paladin, Steve.
What the hell does he do
6'3",
at Furman?
He's a guard, 6'3", 2. I think Furman is a big-time Christian college, I think. But he won some awards. Dude, people ask about this top
I'm good.
30
As
stuff.
long as he won some awards, I'm good with
Right,
it.
right. People ask about the top 30, and here's what I think about the top 30. We're the Chiefs pick. You cannot feel like 30 picks out of what? There's 250 some picks. 30 picks is nothing. So the Chiefs can't really bring in, like, look, you're not going to bring in like quarterbacks or anybody that you think's probably going in the top, 10? You're probably not even bringing them in.
Right.
So I think they use it a lot more for checking medicals, which I think that they've done that with Eric All and different things. I think they look at a few guys that could be in the ranges, a few guys that maybe they think they could be in the range with to come up in the second round, kind of like the Rashid Rice last year. And then I think they look at a few guys like this guy, Jacob Johanning, for UDFA stuff. And it's kind of like, look, we'll try to get to you in the 7th round, but if we can't, remember us when it comes UDFA time. That's what I think they do. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, but I didn't know anything about that, actually.
We'll do a video about it. I'm sure it'll be a long, great video about Jacob Johanning from Furman, Steve.
Well, it might be beneficial, though, because obviously I don't know anything about him. I'm sure a lot of people don't, so it might be a good thing.
There you go.
We actually have a video locked and loaded and ready to go. It'll probably be out Monday.
Yeah, probably
we didn't
Monday.
want to over. Well, I guess we could potentially use it tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But Michael Hall Jr., they had a top 30 visit with him, defensive tackle from OSU. He was one of my favorites early on, and the more I watch him, the more I fall in love with the guy. I think he's going to be a fun pick for somebody.
Steve, I love Michael Hall Jr. When you watch him on film, he was like, when you're watching defensive tackles, okay, you had Byron Murphy, who was good. You had Johnny Newton out of Illinois. That was kind of good. He had the pop. And then, of course, Tavondre Sweat, the big old guy from Texas. He's good. And then Braden Fisk came on at the combine, right? But after
Right.
watching all those, you're like, there's nobody in here that's just, there's nobody in here like greasing the sprocket for me here, okay? But when you watch Michael Hall Jr., you say, he's got a little bit of pop. He's got a little pop. And he is. I think he's a boom bust guy, man. And I think that's a crazy pick. I don't know if I take a pick.
Well,
I don't know if I go 64 with him, though.
no, and I almost think you would almost have to, because I think he's probably going to be
I think that third round is a very comfortable kind of thing. So maybe
someone might reach on that guy, though. He seems like the type of guy someone might reach on, because Barry Boomer Bust, like you said, he could be an absolute beast. But
he could be out of the league.
I love his college tape.
Hey, he could be out of the league by September.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, well, since we have mentioned it a couple times, I think I have it right here. We're going to talk a little bit about our Chiefs predictions 2.0.
Okay.
We haven't got a chance to do that yet. What better time than now? We can talk about that. If you guys have any questions or anything, make sure to throw them in the chat. Also, hit that like button if you haven't already, please. It just takes a second. It'll help us out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We do nothing but Chiefs content. A lot of it. A lot of draft content recently. So hit that subscribe button. But before I get to that, Mike, I want to talk about one more thing. I put a couple of community posts on here today, and of course, they don't exactly come up a whole lot. The algorithm doesn't care for the community posts much. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the people that were members over at Patreon. That helped us kind of glide through the whole, being in the basement of YouTube, not being monetized and all that. So you guys that went and did that for us, we can't thank you enough for that. We really do appreciate that. To show our thanks for everybody kind of helping support us through that dead, dull time. We've actually knocked the Patreon down to just $1 to be a member. Just $1. So for $1, you can go over there and get a ton of content.
Yeah, there's already like 10 pods over there. There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot. So, I mean, there's phone backgrounds. There's all kinds of stuff over there. It's just $1 right now. So patreon.com/allchieftUp. Go join for $1 and you'll get extra content weekly. If you're one of the $10 people, there is still that tier. If you'd like to continue to support at $10, that's cool. But feel free to go down to the $1 version. We appreciate you guys helping us out when we needed it the most. But I'd definitely like to build that up too. So if you guys haven't done that yet, it's just $1 a month, and you're going to get a lot of free content over there. So patreon.com/allchiefedup. And one more thing, merch.allchiefedup.com, our store for the draft. We're going to have 20% off sale till the end of this month, basically. Basically, when the draft ends, the sale will end. I think it's like the 29th or something like that. But get over there and get you some merchandise while it's on sale. That'll be the code's draft season. It's all capitals, draft SZN. That's the promo code. Ooh. So go buy you some nice stuff over there and use that promo code, baby. But yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody for that. So get that out there. But Mike, I uploaded our mock draft 2.0. And like I said, if you guys have any questions about it or you want to have any comments, make sure to throw them in there so we can discuss it. Right. But here we go, baby. Here's what we had going, Mike.
Yeah, we traded out of the first round. We traded back. New England come up. They got him a corner because I think, was it Nate Wiggins who fell a little bit? So they grabbed Nate Wiggins, and then we slid back to pick 34, which was only about 3 or 4 picks, and we grabbed Xavier Worthy out of Texas.
2 picks to be exact.
Right. There was more to it, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But anyway, Xavier Worthy, man. We just talked about it with Daniel Harms. I'm not comfortable taking him in the first round. I'm really not. I don't think he's worthy of a first-round pick, but there will be somebody that does it.
I like what you did there.
What? Yeah, he's not worthy?
Well, I'll tell you what. The only way I'd be I don't know if I'd be necessarily happy, but the only way I'd be okay with drafting Xavier Worthy was if he fell into the second. He either fell in the second round and we could trade back or trade up and get him. Right. Like that's the only way I see it. I do not think he warrants a first-round pick at all. Not with all these other receivers out there.
Right. But just like Dan said, he's got the speed. He's got the profile that the Chiefs like. I think it's a safe bet that he can learn decently well and from a full season of Hollywood Brown being here. And we like that pick. Again, Xavier Worthy, it felt so cringe to mock that to us because that is everybody's pick by default to the Chiefs. But when we were doing this and he was there when we were allowed to trade back, it felt like a no-brainer because this is a mock draft in which what would Veach do, not what Mike and Steve do. Right,
and if the value's there and he can trade back, gain draft capital, and get him, that's a win-win. Then in round 2, we stuck with our boy Kingsley Suamataia. There's a chance that he won't be around at pick 48, but in this particular scenario, we had him fall into there, so we traded up. We traded back, got Xavier Worthy. We traded back up in the second round and took our boy Kingsley for the tackle position. Mike, we've talked about Kingsley quite a bit. Daniel even talked about him. Daniel loves him.
He's gaining a lot of traction right now, though.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It is very good possibility he could sneak into the late first, but I still think his sweet spot is somewhere around pick 33 to 45, somewhere in that range. And so I felt that like 38 to 40 was good. And when he fell to 43, it's a no-brainer. You get up and you get him because he's not going to come in and challenge Wanye right off the rip as a left tackle. But in 2 years down the road, he will be that guy. And he could probably also get you, once the whole right tackle debacle's solved, because are we sold on the right tackle here? The big move we made last year with our
I think you got one more year of him for sure. And then, either way, you got to pay the guy $60 million. So they're going to ride it as long as they can. I think Jawan Taylor's a good tackle. I think he's got his problems.
Unfairly picked on last year.
He definitely did. Now, does he need to clean up some stuff? Absolutely. But they did pick on him on top of that. And that all started with game 1 against the Lions. Was it?
Chris Collinsworth got
Chris
bored.
Collinsworth, yeah, pretty much. He had to have something to talk about during the game, and that's what they happened to talk about. So kind of got a target on his back early. I think Jawan Taylor's a fine right tackle. He plays well. He does get a lot of penalties. If he can clean that up, no problem there. But he is expensive. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely a big Kingsley fan. Love it. Love the fact that he is cousins with Penei Sewell. So we know that, it's been good for his family so far because he's been tearing it up in Detroit. So
right. Steve, round 3, pick 95. We got Jatavion Sanders. And look,
this one's a little polarizing.
This one's polarizing, because people say he's not going to get to round 3, pick 95.
Right.
But there's some people that have Jatavion Sanders fell out of their top 100 on their big board.
Right. By all means, he could be a second-round draft pick.
Right.
Easy. But he is falling quite a bit. And I think the reason why he's falling is because of things we talked about earlier with Daniel. You watch his tape. If he's not getting the ball, he's not running a good route. He's kind of being lazy. He's not the best blocker. He reminds me a lot of Isaiah Likely, who plays for Baltimore now. He came out like 2 years ago. So he could be an asset for the Chiefs. But he's also fallen, I think, because Ben Sennett's rising. So they're kind of changing places there.
Yeah, Ben Sennett's right. Look, I really like Jatavion Sanders. Yes, he's moved down to my number 3, and yes, I've got Ben Sinnott over the top of him. But I still think Jatavion Sanders is worth a second-round pick. I would still take him in the second round, and so the third round is a no-brainer for me. And because, look, like I said, he had A.D. Mitchell, he had Xavier Worthy, he had the running back, he had Jonathan Brooks there that he had to fight for, targets and stuff. So the dude can do it. He's basically a giant wide receiver. That's what he is. He's a great pass catcher. He's got big size and speed to make plays in the middle of the field. He knows how to shield defenders with his body. So he just don't try to out-jump them. He knows how to do that. And the best thing about him this year is he had zero dropped passes, guys.
That's always good to see, right?
That's what we want. He's just an athlete, man. Do you realize when he first come to Texas, they had him lining up at defensive end? Like, that's how athletic he is. So I just think it's a good pick, and I know he's gaining, he's sliding a little bit. But to me, I'd take him there as a no-brainer, man.
Absolutely. A little off subject here, but Ray wants to know, why isn't Luke McCaffrey getting a lot of media buzz, Mike? I like Luke McCaffrey. I think he's a pretty decent receiver. His tape's okay. I like, it's kind of that bloodline thing. Like he comes from a family that knows how to win. They're good football players.
Right.
So I think he's got the same mentality. What do you think, Mike? Why isn't he getting any buzz?
Well, he's not been a receiver his entire career. He was a running back, and he's just now went over to wide receiver. He's got pretty good size. I think he's 6'2", 195-ish, somewhere around there. But it's fine. It's fine. He had 71 targets, 71 receptions off 120 targets, 992 yards, and he had 13 touchdowns this year. He's got a pretty high contested catch rate. It's a 60.7% contested catch rate. He doesn't drop a lot, 4% drop rate. So I think he's fine as a receiver. I just don't think he's dynamic, and I think he's raw. So do you want to take him as a mid-rounder saying, hey, he's raw, I can mold him, he's good for my room? Or do you say he has his limitations because he's not played wide receiver? I would prefer to take him past the 4th or 5th round, right? So there's your conundrum, and I think it's how it fits into certain offenses. And a lot of these guys, outside your big 3, outside of Harrison, Adunze, and Neighbors, it is honestly who fits what offense the best. Like, I can't 100% say at the end of their career that Brian Thomas is going to be better than Xavier Worthy. Or I can't say A.D. Mitchell is going to be better than Ladd McConkey. We can look at all the film and we can try to gauge that, but it's tough because I think A.D. Mitchell and Ladd McConkey are similar in my projection. But again, if the Chiefs are going to pick that, what's the Chiefs going to always roll with? They're going to go with the small guy that fits in their system. So some of these guys, it's almost like instead of doing round 1, round 2, it's almost tiers, right? You almost feel like you got to put them in tiers, and it's whoever likes them within that tier. And right now, I think Luke McCaffrey's in probably tier. Let me look. Let me just give you. I think he's about tier 1, 2, 3. I've got him in somewhere around the top of my tier 4, and I think he can go somewhere right around, I think 4th round you start looking at him, in my opinion. 4th round.
Yeah, so back on to what we were talking about with Jatavion Sanders. Brent says, I don't see the point in drafting Sanders. He's not a blocker, just a receiver, so you may as well just draft a wide receiver with more upside.
That. He's a big old wide receiver, but by the way, he can block pretty well. Let me bring this up for you here. He is a... Let me see.
Real quick while you're looking for that, I think
go ahead.
if you're trying to go for just a blocking type tight end, like a Blake Bell type replacement or something like that, I think you can stick around late. And there's a guy in Illinois named Tip Ryman. That guy's an absolute unit.
Look,
when it
Tip
comes to
Ryman,
blocking.
Yeah, he's a blocker. Do we really? Are we trying to go get another Blake Bell? Is that what we're doing, or are you looking for somebody that could replace Kelsey?
Exactly. Because if you're looking to replace Kelsey, you're looking at Jatavion Sanders. If you're looking to replace Blake Bell and get a blocker, you can wait till late, and Tip Ryman's perfect for that.
So Jatavion Sanders this year got a 61.5 run blocking grade. 61.5. And you would say that sucks. It's not that bad, by the way, because it's hard to score on PFF. Cade Stover is known as one of the best blocking tight ends in this entire draft because he's
Cade
mean.
Stover. Yeah.
61.5. You know what Cade Stover's blocking grade was? A 54.4. He's 7 points higher than Cade Stover as a PFF blocking grade. So it's subjective. I think Jatavian Sanders doesn't have the killer mentality of blocking, but he does get in the way. He does his assignment, and that's what he does. He knows he makes his money catching the ball. He's not going to be the Cade Stover that wants to go out and maul you to death.
Right.
To be honest, Kelsey don't have that. That's
Absolutely
why everybody
agree.
says George Kittle's better. It's just two different kinds of tight ends. If you want somebody that's going to get closer to Kelsey, Jatavian Sanders is fine. If you want somebody closer to Blake Bell and you want Irv Smith, by all means, yeah, don't take him. But I think his blocking's sufficient enough to play. And by the way, you can teach people to block pretty well, in my opinion.
So round 4, pick 131, we ended up taking defensive tackle Christian Boyd from University of Northern Iowa. Mike, Christian Boyd's somebody that the Chiefs have brought in on a top 30 visit. He's also a guy a lot of locals know. I think he's from the area. What do you think about Christian Boyd?
Right. Well, he's from Blue Springs. We've covered that. He was at the Shrine Bowl, and he done really well at the Shrine Bowl, actually. The Chiefs actually spoke to him at the Shrine Bowl. So they've now spoke to him at the Shrine Bowl, and they brought him in for a top 30. So the Chiefs are very interested in him. He's got a lot of length, a lot of power. He's got exceptional burst off the line of scrimmage for his size. He explodes out of his stance, and he bursts up the field. He actually can slip gaps pretty well being that big. I think he holds his weight, which is 317, I think is about what they're saying he is. He holds that weight pretty well. It's not a sloppy 317. It is a compact 317. I think he's got good hand usage. I think they're violent. I think he's got violent hand usage. And I mean, he's slow sometimes to locate the ball. If they do a misdirection play or sometimes on the run, he doesn't see the ball too well, which you will have to figure that out because he is going to be a Mike Pennell kind of guy, right? And then, of course, he don't have a lot of bend. He's a little big. He shows some stiffness there. But honestly, I think round 4, round 5, I'm fine with him.
Yeah, for sure. I really do like Christian Boyd, man. But he's going to do a lot of things that, well, it really depends. Like, obviously, I don't think Derek Notty's going to be a guy that they're going to continue to just give 1-year contracts to. You know what I'm saying? So if they want a guy like that on this team, I think you go ahead and get a really good one right here with Christian Boyd. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. Like, I don't think he's anything special, but I think it'd probably be like a pretty good value on a guy like that at that juncture in the draft. So I do like it. Then of course we went to round 5, pick 159. Brennan Jackson, defensive end from Washington State. Mike, this is a guy that no one's really talked about a whole lot. I hadn't really watched a whole lot of tape on or anything until you brought him up.
Right.
And boy, am I glad you did, because I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I think he's pretty quick off the edge. He's 6'4", 264. He has he's right in the elite weight range for what you want from a defensive end that puts their hand down and sets an edge like a Spags defensive end. If you start looking at the board, okay, so look, everybody knows Dallas Turner's your top defensive end. He is a stand-up outside linebacker rusher. He's a 247. He's not going to put his hand in the dirt. Leatu Latu is 259. He's right on the cusp. But if you go down the board, there's not many people there. The Chiefs have spoke to Marshawn Nealon, who, by the way, 267. He's right in the wheelhouse of what you want. Brennan Jackson, 264. So he's got good size. He has an elite 40-yard dash time for his size at a 4.69. If you look at past defensive ends, 4.69 is just barely above. I'm talking barely, like 0.05 above Myles Garrett. That's this. It's right there with Max Crosby. It's actually faster than Nick Bosa and Aiden Hutchinson. That's how fast he was in his 40-yard dash. He has a good 10-yard split at a 1.62, a 34-inch vert, and he's got 9 3/4-inch hands with 33-inch arms. He's got all the prototypical size. He can set the edge. He can get after the passer. I think Brennan Jackson is a nice pick. And if you've not watched a lot on Brennan Jackson, just go watch him. He was also a team captain, I'm pretty sure, at Washington State. So he's a good a football IQ as well. Yeah,
for sure. So what I saw on tape, Mike, was just like an explosive player. It's kind of like the way, like, his measurables and everything like that. And then when I watched the tape, I was like, why is no one talking about this kid?
Right.
Like
Did
it was
you
one
get
of
that
those
vibe?
guys. Yeah, exactly. There's a few guys in this draft where I really question like why people are not talking about them, and he's definitely on that list now. And we'll get to another one here in just a minute when we get back to talking about our picks. But first, round 5, pick 173, we took offensive guard Layden Robinson from Mississippi State. Mike, obviously we need some offensive line depth. Their guard is definitely a position we got to kind of look at because you got Trey Smith's contract coming up. We just lost Allegretti. What do you think about Layden Robinson?
Right. Layden Robinson's a guy out of Texas A&M, 6'3.5", 302. When you watch him on film, there are times where he just looks like he could be a dominant road grading, just a clone of Trey Smith. And then other times, he looks horrible. I'm just going to be flat out honest. He looks horrible. That's why he's a day 3 guy. You don't know what you're going to get. But I think where we got him in this draft, it's a risk reward kind of pick. Can Andy Heck coach him up a little bit? Can he learn behind our offensive line? I think there's potential there. He didn't run at the combine, so you don't really have like any kind of 10-yard split or 40-yard on him. 26.5-inch vert, which was just flat out piss poor. I'm talking, it was bad. 26.5-inch vert. He is 302. I get it, but Joe Tooney had one of the worst verts I can remember as to be an elite guard in this league, and Joe Tooney's was 28.5. So he was 2 full inches lower than Joe Tooney, and you can't compare everybody to like somebody as elite as Joe Tooney, but you try to compare to the elite of the elite. But where he shined is his arm length, almost 35-inch arms, which would put him at bigger arms than Tooney, Chris Lindstrom, Jason Kelsey, Creed Humphrey, Joe Batonio. It also puts him at 10.5-inch hands, which means if he can get his big old mitts on you, you're not getting out of it. He has 10.5-inch hands. To put that in context, that is there might be one other guy in this entire inside offensive lineman class that has bigger hands. And again, those are bigger hands by almost a full inch than Joe Tooney, Chris Lindstrom, Joe Patonio, Jason Kelsey, Creed Humphrey. So, I mean, he's got some traits. It's just, are you going to get the guy that shows up on 50% of the film, or are you going to get the other guy that sucks on 50% of the film? I don't know.
It's up for debate.
It's up for debate.
But, with Andy Heck, I like our
That's
chances.
what you get, though, late in drafts, though, right?
For sure. And speaking of late in the draft, if we can get this guy in round 7, I think it's an absolute steal. Round 7, pick 227.
Yeah, I like Kamal
We're taking
Haddon.
Kamal Haddon, cornerback from Tennessee. When I was talking about Brennan Jackson a minute ago, I said that he was somebody, when I watched the tape, I'm like, why is nobody talking about him? When I watch Kamal Haddon's tape, I am absolutely mind blown that no one's bringing this guy up. I get we have a small sample size of what he can do because he was injured last year. He didn't play that many games. But when he played, he was absolutely dominant. The quarterback rating when passing towards Kamal Haddon was in single digits. He flies around the field. He makes tackles much like L'Jarius Sneed. He kind of looked like him a lot on tape sometimes. I think this is a guy could be an absolute steal. It could be the next late round cornerback Brett Veach drafts, and they can develop into something out of nothing type deal. I love Kamal Haddon, and I would be ecstatic if we get him late in the draft. Mike, what do you think about the guy?
Right. He's got good size. He's 6'1", 197. His big knock is injuries, man. In 2021, he only played 6 games. In 2022, he only played 9, so he missed 2 or 3, I think. And in 2023, he only played 7. So every season he's been in college, he has missed time due to injuries. He's had season-ending injuries. I will say that he had a 7% passer rating this year when targeted. In 7 games played, 184 coverage snaps. They only threw to his side of the field 33 times, and he allowed 12 catches for 96 yards. And he had 3 interceptions, dude. Yeah. He almost had more interceptions than the passer rating allowed to the quarterback, which was a 7.
Absolute beast, man.
But here's the thing. To me, he's not so much of a man-to-man kind of guy. And here's the thing. A lot of people would say, well, if he's not man-to-man, the Chiefs won't take him. The Chiefs are experimenting with more zone every single year for the past 3 years. He is a great zone coverage guy. He's got a 91 zone coverage grade. His man coverage grade is only a 69. So he does struggle against man-to-man, but he makes up for it in zone. He keeps his eyes in the backfield. He's always making a play on the ball. The other big knock, in my opinion, is his run defense. He does not score well. He doesn't like to come up. He will come up and hit you, but when it's diagnosing runs sometimes, he doesn't do that quick enough. And so he only scored a 49 as a run defense grade. By far, that is one of the worst things PFF charts him on. But can that be taught? Yeah, I think it can, because to be honest, L'Jarius Sneed wasn't always the best tackler in the run game, right? Like, he led the team in missed tackles for 2 straight years, his second and third year with the Chiefs. Just this year, he cleaned that up. So it can be taught, and I think a lot of it is just getting comfortable, playing more football, because he's only played literally 22 games in college. So he's so raw. I love Kamal Hadden as a pick, as somebody that you could bring in and take a look at late. I like it. I like it, or else I wouldn't have picked it.
So on his tape, Mike, I actually saw him diagnose screens and stuff pretty well and come flying in making some good tackles.
I'm talking about the run game, though. Sometimes he was slow diagnosing runs.
Hey, Pop's in the house. He woke up from his early evening nap with the 20 bomb. He came in strong.
20, baby.
What's going on, old man? We all went and had some Mexican cuisine earlier.
Some Mexican cuisine.
Mexican cuisine.
Mexican cuisine.
No, but yeah. And he even said, he's like, I'm probably going to pass out and I'll wake up halfway through y'all's live stream. Here he is. He called it.
Here he is. Pops, you missed Daniel Harms. I'm sure he'd like to hear some of your thoughts.
I have to go back and watch. Put some legendaries in the chat for the old man with the 20 bomb. Appreciate you, fat guy. Man, so back to our predictions for the Chiefs in 2.0. Just to recap, Xavier Worthy, he was hanging out at the early second round. We traded back, still got to snag him. Then we traded back up in the second round and took Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle for BYU. Round three, we snagged a falling Jatavion Sanders, a tight end from Texas. Then we went and got Christian Boyd, Brendan Jackson, Layden Robinson, and Kamal Hadden. Overall, Mike, if the Chiefs were to draft that way, which right now that's kind of what we're thinking, they're going to be somewhere like that. What would you grade that draft? And also, you guys throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat what you guys would grade it as well.
Right. If the Chiefs pick that draft, I give it a solid A. I think they hit all the spots they needed to. And again, you have to decide. And I didn't get to ask Dan this, but I think he kind of answered it without asking him. He said that there's some good tackles, but they're very top heavy, right? So you have to get that tackle early. And at trading back, we did take Xavier Worthy, but we got back up quick and got Suamataia. I believe you could have took Suamataia first and then maybe took the pick of the litter at wide receiver at the second trade up, right? I think that's maybe what I would have done. We traded it up a little bit to just be a little different. We didn't want to come out with the same exact picks every single time. That's not fun. So, but I like that. I think you found good value with Christian Boyd. You found good value with Brendan Jackson, Kamal Hadden. Layden Robinson might have been the pick that's kind of, make or break. You could have maybe went
with different guys, yeah.
Maybe C.J. Hansen, maybe you could have went Furman. You could have went Jacob Johanning,
Yeah, there's lots of different things that Chiefs could do. This is
also
why we're going to be
solid, though.
This is also why we're going to be updating this thing weekly. Like, we're going to try to keep the finger on the pulse of what Brett Veach and crew's maybe looking at, what they're thinking, any kind of rumors we hear behind the scenes. We're going to try to apply it and try to be as close as we can. But Calhoun, he said we had a pretty good draft, and he said he also loves Hadden.
Yeah.
I think if you guys haven't watched tape on Kamal Hadden, I would suggest you go do that. Just go right here on YouTube, just search Kamal Hadden highlights. It's a fun watch. I think I like looking at the guys that you could potentially get late that could just absolutely blow up, because obviously those diamonds in the rough are always fun. So it's cool to try to find who those are going to be. You're going to have them every year, right? There's always that guy. So it's kind of cool to try to dig in and find one of those. Mike, if there was anybody else that would be later in the draft, and by later in the draft, I mean 5th, 6th round or UDFA, that could potentially be that kind of diamond in the rough, besides Kamal Hadden, who do you think? Do you have anybody on your radar?
Do you want to name a position, or you just want me to go like hardcore with it? Just go with anybody.
Yeah, if you got a guy in mind, that's all I'm asking. Like, is there somebody out there that you're thinking might be kind of a hidden gem?
Right. I think, there's a few. I mean, don't get me wild. I think out of Arkansas, you've got a guy named Trahan Jeffcoat, 6'4", 266, and he plays defensive end, and I think he does things Spags likes. He can set the edge. He's got pretty good athleticism. He has an elite 40-yard dash time out of 4.69. He's got elite hand size. He's got great 10-yard split. His vert wasn't very good. It was only a 31.5, but still, it doesn't translate because people say, well, you're not twitchy if your vert's not good, but it's like, well, he run a 4.69. It's elite.
Right.
So some of that stuff is weird to me, and I just think a lot of people don't test well on the spot. So I would be, I kind of want to go back and see what he did at Arkansas Pro Day, see if he redone that one. But I do like Trahan Jeffcoat. That's a guy I would recommend you to watch a little bit of film on. If you go defensive tackle, because I like looking at some defensive tackles, Jaden Crumedy out of Mississippi State, 6'4", 301. I think he's got the same body type as Chris Jones. I really do. I like them better than McKinley Jackson, who a lot of people think could be a third-round pick at nose tackle. To be honest, I thought McKinley Jackson was on the ground too much. You are not an effective nose tackle if you're laying on the ground. But Jaden Crumedy has like some vibes. Like he tested great across the board. I want to see why that didn't translate into a lot more at Mississippi State. And if you look back at Chris Jones's numbers, he didn't set the world on fire with numbers either at Mississippi State. So a lot of it is the way they run their the way they run their defense. And then I'll go to offensive side and name a couple. I think I'm big on Dallin Holker, tight end out of Colorado State. I like him. I think he would be a nice pick in day 3 if you wanted to go that route. And then I'm going to go to the running back. And I think, to me, the more I watch, I love Tyrone Tracy Jr. and I love Bucky Irving. I think both of those two guys could be a good replacement for Jerick McKinnon if they do not get Jerick McKinnon back. I would not mind Bucky Irving, Tyrone Tracy Jr. because Bucky Irving is a guy that he does not have the best long speed, but his field vision and his shiftiness is just flat out elite. He forced more missed tackles per attempt than Bijan Robinson. Let's think about that. Bijan
That's ridiculous.
Was a top 10. Yeah. That's what he gives you. And he done it running a 4.55. So what's that tell you? Well, he's not super fast, but he's smarter than the defense. He knows what they're going to do before they do. I want a football player that knows what you're thinking before, kind of like Kelsey. Kelsey don't set the world on fire, but for some reason, he gets the ball in his hand. He's making people miss left and right, and you're like...
Kelsey's just smart, man.
Exactly. Bucky Irving to Travis Kelsey, the way you see Travis Kelsey move with the ball in his hands is the way I see Bucky Irving, believe it or not. What a weird comp.
And the Chiefs.
What a weird comp.
Is that really a comp? And the Chiefs have met with Bucky Irving, so that's something to note.
Right. Brent says Bucky could go in the second or third. I don't think there's going to be many running backs go in the second round. I think you may get 2 tops. If they're feeling frisky, you may get 3 running backs in the second round, but I really don't think so. I think Bucky, to me, he could slide into the third. I think he's maybe an early day 3 guy, in my opinion. That's where I'd feel comfortable with him.
I just think a lot of the running backs are going to fall lower than people think.
I think you could start looking at him in round 4, but if somebody took him in round 3, I'd be completely fine with it.
If
I think round 2's a little rich.
If someone takes a first-round running back, I'll be super surprised this year. And I think the only team that even has the argument to do something like that would probably be Dallas.
A first round?
Yeah, because they have nothing.
I think first-round running back's out.
I do too. Way. But if somebody were to reach on one, it'd have to be them. They have nothing right now.
I think Dallas... Right. They can look at Jonathan Brooks in round 2. I think that's about where it starts.
I think they're leaning probably more towards is a Benson from FSU. I think that's his name, right?
Trey Benson, man.
But yeah, they have nothing, dude. They have Rico Dowdle and
Hey, if you guys
Deuce Vaughn.
If you guys are really big into like what you think our ranking should be, if you guys go listen to podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to them, I'm throwing up ACU's top 10s in every position. We've got quarterback, running back, and tight end just went live the other day. So we've got 3 positions top 10 up. You can go listen to our analysis of them, see if you agree with how we rank the top 10s. We're going to try to get through all of these. Fingers crossed we can. That's a lot of work, to be honest. Like, I sit there for 5.5 hours trying to get all that done the other day.
We'll try to get it all out there, though. And also, we'll be releasing our top 50. That way you can kind of get an idea of who we see in the top 50 in this draft. We'll release that sometime this week. Chief Kelsey says Haddon is still in the 7th. And Sua Mataea at 40-something is good. Grade B+, maybe A-. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that, man. I think that's a good... Now, you say you're a tough grade. Chief Kelsey, but I actually
Right.
think that's pretty fair.
Right. I honestly would have graded it higher if you would have got Sua Mataea first and maybe got somebody other than Worthy.
Yeah, I'm not the hugest Worthy fan, but I do feel like if they were to be in that position, I do think the Chiefs, I think Brett Veach and Andy Reid probably value him a little bit more than we do.
Which is why we did it. Honestly,
Right.
I would have been fine taking maybe – I would have probably liked A.D. Mitchell, maybe even Ladd McConkey more there.
Yeah, dude, I'm kind of getting to the point now where we've talked about wide receivers so much and the wide receivers in this draft. Initially, my favorite guy in the draft was probably Keon Coleman. I still like him. I still think he's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
I think he could be a definite starting X receiver in the league. But, like, I've got to the point now, Mike, to where there's two guys that I really would love to see the Chiefs get. And if they don't get them, I'm not mad about it.
You've got
but,
your
like,
two big wide receivers, huh?
not necessarily two big wide receivers, but the two that I like that I think I would be happy with seeing.
My guys. You got some my guys.
In the wide receiver position, absolutely. It's
Can
Xavier
I guess
Legette.
them? Legette was my first guess.
Yeah, there's another one too.
And I don't know if I'll get this one. Is it Roman Wilson?
Close.
Oh, it's close. It's close to Roman Wilson. Give me one more guess. Close to Roman Wilson. It's not Xavier Legette. Jermaine Burton?
Now I do like him, but I think he's a risk.
Okay,
I think the
who you
safe
got?
play. I think the safe play in this draft, and a guy that I like, and I think he's a plug and play, Ladd McConkey. I think I'd like to see the Chiefs draft Legette with like the huge ceiling, or just play it safe, get Ladd McConkey, and I think he's going to be a valuable
I get you.
wide receiver. in the
Legette
league.
gives you a very solid high floor, and
You
or
need ceiling.
McConkey gives you
Yeah,
the
yeah.
high floor, and then Legette gives you the high ceiling, the crazy.
Yeah, I'm good with one of those two. Casey has become a YouTube member. We appreciate you.
Amy Casey. a
Amy
YouTube
Casey.
member. She was a YouTube member already. I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Welcome back. Brent, he says he's very high on Javon Baker. We are not necessarily. I think the main reason we're not like super high on Javon Baker is his drop rate was ridiculous. Other than that, like I think he'd be an okay, like honestly, I probably wouldn't be happy with a Javon Baker pick unless it was third round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying late third, fourth is where I start looking to Javon Baker, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right.
He's
Like
not in
second
my
round,
top
pick
10.
64, I would throw up a little bit in my mouth.
Right. Honestly, he got into my top 20. He's number 19. And you would say you got 18 other wide receivers over him. I think I do. And the one that I could say that's pretty close to him is Devontae Walker. They're kind of the same guy, right? 6'1", 6'1.5", 202,
Yeah.
193. But Devontae Walker tested insane.
Yeah, he's ridiculous, right?
He tested elite in every single category. He was elite in the 40, elite in the 10, elite in the vert, elite arms, elite hands. His contested catch rate was a 58.8. Javon Baker's was a 56. So they're right there on contested catches. But everybody says Devontae Walker can't catch the football, Steve. He had a 6.8% drop rate compared to Javon Baker's 10.3.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, and you
sounds
can't
like he
really
can catch the ball.
I think the only knock with
little
Devontae
better.
Walker, the knock with Devontae Walker is competition level. He played at North Carolina, right? Like a lot of people don't know if they've seen enough from him.
He transferred in too from, who was it, Toledo?
Right. But at the same time, if you're trying to compare him to Javon Baker, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think Devontae Walker, in my opinion, is a better athlete than Baker all around. But it is close. I'm not going to knock on Javon Baker. I don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
love
mad
him.
at that pick if, like I said, late third, fourth round, I'm okay with it. But if they try to take him at 64, that's not good.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little bit of a reach. I feel
Absolutely.
like I put Javon Baker probably kicking off like tier number 4, somewhere in that range. Like he's right around like the Luke McCaffreys, the Malik Washingtons, the Bub Means out of Pittsburgh, maybe Jalen McMillan, which actually Jalen McMillan could probably go up a little bit higher, to be honest. But yeah. I don't know. It's different strokes for different folks, right? That's the beauty of the draft. Because everybody likes different guys, but that just shows you, man. Could you imagine what these draft boards look like from team to team? It's probably not even close to being similar.
Yeah, for sure. Celsig says, best Chiefs draft analysis anywhere. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that, Celsig. Mike's put in a ton of work on this draft analysis. Always does. I've done probably more than usual, to be quite honest. Really digging in. I don't watch a lot of college football either, so it's a lot of work for me. Like right after the Super Bowl and everything's over, I start digging in on guys that I've not really watched a whole lot. So I'm even having to watch tape on top picks because I have not seen them that much. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Celsic says best Chiefs draft analysis anywhere. Thanks, guys. Gassing us up, baby.
What? All right, what's happening right now? Am I losing
Did
my
you pull
mind?
this up?
Yeah.
Did
Dude.
you?
I was
Sorry,
like, what?
I was kind of zoned out a little bit. I was looking at some stuff. I was trying to catch up on the chat, and I missed
Mike,
it.
you made me think I was crazy for
Hey.
a second, dude.
If you're going to put the gas, I'm going to gas it up twice. Why not?
I was like, man, am I having deja vu right now? Or like, I'm seriously confused. Because I'm tired, by the way. I didn't sleep much last night. It's getting late.
Right. Celtic
But,
Brown, Steve says he's brown nosing. No, I don't think so. I think he just understands that he respects two guys putting in some work and going out on a limb and giving their draft analysis, you know?
Yeah. Celtic says he got a double. He did. Mike was sleeping on you. He had to wake up, and we got
did.
him twice.
Hey, you got the double. It's good to go. Celtic, who's a player you want to talk about? I'm going to let Celtic throw out a player. I'm going to give you some analysis on him. How about that?
Oh,
Free
no.
one. Don't be trying
What
to trick
if we
nobody
started
now.
here? What if we started? No, I'm just kidding.
Celtic
Man,
wants
no,
some
but
draft
we'll
knowledge.
probably be around for around 20 more minutes tonight. We'll probably hit around the 2-hour mark and call it a night. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Saturday night. It was fun having Daniel Harms on earlier from RGR and some other things that he dabbles in. If you didn't get to watch that, if you came in late, please go back and watch it. That was a fun conversation, and we got to get his perspective on a lot of these players as well. So,
Dude, we got Dan Harms fired up tonight. He was very
No,
animated.
he tried to horn up everybody by coughing the OBJ thing.
he gonna
You know
cough
what's
on
funny is
OBJ
I
like
ran a
that?
poll. I didn't get a chance to say it, but I ran a poll while you guys were talking, and it was Dan thinks that OBJ will be a Chief. Do you? Yes or no? Dude, take a guess what that ended on.
I'm going to say 60-40 no.
No, man. It was like 80-20 no. Like, people are not happy about this OBJ thing.
I don't know. I
you
don't
think-
know. Does
I'm
OBJ
not-
really come in and take that small of an amount to play here? Because you know Veach ain't giving him much.
I think Veach is higher on OBJ than Chiefs fans. He's been looking at him for quite a while. I think if he can get him for cheap, I think he will. I don't think Dan Harms is far off. I think there's been smoke on OBJ for 2 or 3 years now.
Right.
The same way there was smoke on Marquise Brown, and look what happened there. So would it surprise me? No. Do I think it's necessary? No. Would I be mad at it? No. A lot of people think OBJ is too much of drama, this and that. I don't know. I kind of feel like the last couple of years, he's kind of settled into that veteran role. He doesn't do anything crazy. He doesn't do anything spectacular, and I don't think he's been much of a drama queen lately. So I don't know.
Right.
I wouldn't be totally mad at it.
Okay. I got you.
Were you listening to me, or did you fall asleep again?
I was
wondering.
listening to you, my man.
Man, you had me thinking I was crazy for a second, for real.
Yeah. You know.
Man, I'm so tired today. I'm over here like stuttering and like all kinds of stuff, like slurring my speech.
It's been a long day. It really has. It really has, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a long week. Spring's finally kicked off. You know what that means, Mike? I got to mow the grass.
You got to mow the grass. The
Man.
Royals are in losing form.
Man, you know what? I've seen a lot of promise out of the Royals. I'm not going to lie. I think they could be better than last year. I know they don't take much, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of promising stuff from the Royals. Not much.
Yeah,
But by the way, who even cares? They're going to be in Nashville in a
Right.
few years anyway, right?
Ray said that the Dolphins are signing OBJ. I've seen some smoke about that.
That's definitely what's going on there. Like, that's the word anyway, that they're actually actively pursuing the guy. But it makes me wonder, if they're pursuing him so hard and he's not signing with them, then why? Does he have someone else on the back burner? Is he trying to get a ring?
Yeah.
He got one with the Rams, but he, I don't know.
Who knows? I don't know. Let's get a few more here, man. Then let's call it a night. Let me see. Where'd our boy go?
Who?
I told him give me a player. Did he give me a player?
No, he said
Oh,
you
no,
put
he
him
just
on the
said put me on the
spot.
spot.
He said you put me on the spot, I'm dipping. He said I'm out.
Oh, no. He does. He says, I'm not a college football fan. He said, but my close schools to me are BYU, Kingsley, baby, Sua Mata'eu, and the University of Utah. Any players out of either of those schools? Kingsley might be the only guy at BYU that's of any. I don't want to say that. There might be somebody there. Utah's got a couple that are kind of cool. They got Sione Vaki, who's coming out as a safety, but he did play running back. So it's like, is he a running back or is he a safety? I honestly think he'll play running back.
Both,
I don't
baby.
think he's. Huh?
Both.
Yeah.
He's going to play on both sides of the ball.
How crazy. But also Cole Bishop, man. He is some people out of Utah. He's some people's maybe second. He could be some people's first safety.
Dude,
it just depends on whether you like Javon Bullock.
He
out
had a
of Georgia
ridiculous
or-
RAS score, by the way. Cole
Yeah.
Bishop, I want to say it was almost a 10. Like
Yeah, he was like
really
a 9
high.
something. His coverage grade wasn't the greatest, about a 61.
Speaking of, on that,
Not
though,
the greatest.
you know Cam Kinchins.
Yeah, out of Miami. Yes.
Have you seen his RAS score?
Yeah, he stunk. He stunk it up. He went from probably being like a second round pick to like a
Do you
mid-third,
think
early
saying
fourth.
that he stunk is like even doing it justice? He had a 2
Yeah.
RAS score.
Dude, some people just don't
2.
test well. Some
But-
people just do not test well.
That's true. To be fair, Nico Remigio had like a 2 something RAS score, I think. And I think he'd be a solid receiver, honestly.
Yeah,
you might
I
see
would-
him poke his head up in this offseason.
Right. I would say though, if you want somebody from Utah, go find a little bit of footage. Maybe go look at some highlights or something like Cole Bishop. I think he'll lay you out. 6'2", 207. He's a guy I'd watch. He's probably going to be the highest drafted player out of Utah this year. He probably goes. Man, you could look at him late second, in my opinion. I think late second to fourth, somewhere in that range. Cole Bishop, that's your guy.
Yeah.
And then Sione Vaki's just got a cool story. Like, go,
Yeah,
lots
Celtic
of stuff
says
about him.
Celtic says I usually just lurk, and now I've got all the attention.
There you go.
Don't be lurking in the shadows, Celtic. Get in that chat, baby. We'll have some fun.
Don't be lurking. Be twerking.
I don't know about all that. Man, so fun time with Dan earlier, Mike. Did he say anything besides the Brian Thomas thing that seemed surprising to you, or were you kind of on the same page?
Of who? Brian Thomas?
I'm done with you today. Done with you.
What?
I said besides the Brian Thomas thing, was there anything else Dan said that was surprising to you?
Surprising?
Or do you think you were pretty much on the same page with him when it comes to the prospects?
Yeah, I think he's a little low on the wide receivers. He said he's only got 3 in the first round.
He gave 3 first-round grades.
Right. But look, if you give 3 wide receiver first round grades, how many players does he give first round grades? Because receiver and offensive tackle are the deep ones. So what's he got, about 7 players with a first round grade, maybe? So
Probably not many, but a lot of people are saying there's only about 15 players worth of first-round picks.
I think I've got like
so
15
it's not
to
that
17.
far off there. Yeah.
But I still give Brian Thomas. I think he's worthy of a first round grade. I really do. Think about it. If the top 3 aren't there, Brian Thomas is looked at as the number 1 receiver on this board, probably. So I don't know. I maybe that, and then but everything else. I mean, he was spot on about the tackle. It falls off a cliff. He was spot on about Jordan Morgan probably being a guard. He's got short arms. I'm sorry, but you can't play left tackle in this league with 32-inch arms. It's not happening. Do you realize the defensive ends are going to get their hands on him before he can even? If you watch any of his film, he lets people get in his chest anyway.
Yeah.
Because he don't have long arms.
For sure.
He's going to be kicked inside the guard. It's a hot take, I guess, but I don't think he's a great. I mean, he's number 50 on my big board.
Yeah. So outside of the draft, man, there's one glaring story in Chiefs Kingdom that me and you haven't commented on whatsoever. And the reason why we haven't really commented on it is because we don't live in Kansas City. But at the same time, I kind of want to give an outside perspective, and I kind of want to know what you think about it too, Mike.
Oh no, what are you talking
And
about?
that's of course the vote, and the fact that got voted down there in Jackson County. Mike, what do you think about that whole scenario? Obviously, we don't live there, so it's kind of like I don't have a dog in the fight. But from an outsider's perspective, I kind of feel like Jackson County dropped the ball. I feel like they got duped into a whole "let's fight the billionaire" bull crap. I feel like they should have definitely, in all honesty, from outside looking in, what do you have if you don't have the Chiefs and the Royals, especially around that area?
I think they're calling the bluff. That's what I'm thinking, because I don't think anybody
But are
reasonably
they?
I don't
Because
think anybody reasonably believes that the Chiefs are going to move.
Well,
beyond
here's my
2030.
thing. Outside perspective, like I said, I don't live there, so it's just an outside perspective. But I think in 2030, if the team's still kicking, they're going to be in Kansas. I don't know if the Royals will be in Kansas City at all. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I think they dropped the ball, man.
I don't know. Look, for one, they put all the stuff together. I think the Royals and the Chiefs should have proposed differently. I don't think people like that, because the Royals put out a trash product every single season, just about.
But is it like, that's the thing about it, though? Like, do they put out a trash product, or are they just in a sport where you have no salary cap and the guys with the more money have the better teams?
Well, that's true, but you got to play the game, and if you can't play it, you can't play it. Like, they got lucky back with the Hosmer and the Locaine and the Moose days, but you can't play the game of the MLB. It's just it's crazy. It's just weighted. They've got to get to a salary cap. It would be
right.
great
So
for the sport.
Who even cares about the Royals part? Let's talk about the Chiefs part. The Chiefs part is this team has won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5. They've been the most popular football team, probably the most lucrative football team in the last few years. Like, it's just ridiculous how much they help small business in that area, how much they help a lot of things in that area.
Right. I feel like that whole Raytown area would
Well,
be
first of
pretty
all,
obsolete.
how long have they been there, and how has that town not put anything near that stadium? It is absolute garbage what is around in that area. Like, it's crazy to me.
There's not a lot, is there?
There's so many missed opportunities. It's insane. And plus, the Chiefs, I think, have played themselves to such a big team now. They're probably looking to build a dome of some sort, like something state of the art.
Right. He
something
said he
more
didn't
up
want
to
a
date.
dome.
I
Look,
bet
the
they
only
do.
thing I think
I bet
is-
they do.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is because, personally, if the Chiefs are playing in Kansas or they're playing in Missouri, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as it's still the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the same city.
Right.
But
Like,
would
I don't
prefer
care,
them-
but
I would
yeah.
prefer them to stay where they are. I don't want them to move out of Arrowhead. That is the place that Derek Thomas helped build. All the legends have been there. I don't want to lose that and knock it down and build something new and lifeless like they have at that Toilet Bowl in Vegas. But at the same time,
We own
it
that.
also shows you that these owners are in it for business. And they will look at Oakland. They had 3 teams and they got nobody this year. They've lost every single team sports in their town. And again, I get it. People don't want to, billionaires should pay for their own stadiums, this and that and everything else. I mean, they were putting up $200 million, I believe. They were only asking for $300, right?
I think you got to look at it in a bigger picture.
But
it's
I
not
mean, I
just,
don't
hey,
know. It's not my fault. I don't care.
Exactly. But I mean, just like I said, just a little outside perspective. Well, we don't live there. We don't have a dog in the fight, right? But like, in my opinion, I get the whole, let's make the billionaire pay for his own stuff, right? Like, we don't want to pay a 5-8 cent of tax or whatever. Like, they don't want to spend, an extra $50 every 10 years to help with the stadium. I get it, whatever. But at the same time, like, well, how many people does that billionaire employ? How many people is he paying paychecks for? Like, if you think from top
but
to
look at
bottom
look at
of
also the
everybody, everything that goes into an NFL event, like at Arrowhead, like a game, I'm talking from Patrick Mahomes to a parking lot attendant. Like, everybody is getting paid from somewhere.
I get it. But look at this too. Look at the upgrades they proposed. It was nothing. It was for it was all the VIP ticket holders.
Right, but I think a lot of the reason that they didn't propose much more, Mike, is because they
get it.
Well, we have people like you who just said a minute ago, like, you
basically
don't want anything done to Arrowhead. You want to be in Arrowhead, like, blah, blah, blah.
I want the integrity kept, but I think if you go upgrade, you just don't say, hey, let's put in VIP seating. Let's do a VIP parking lot. Like, put something in for people that can afford it.
Was that not the problem with the proposal?
Steve, common people can't afford to pay thousands of dollars for one game to take their family.
It's a joke anyway, right?
So quit trying to give the people that can the upgrades, and maybe people will support your tax.
Well, what I'm saying is that was a problem with the whole proposal, was they were trying, I think, to cater too much. They're trying to play both sides of the fence. They tried to cater to the people that are just absolute purists, like, we want Arrowhead, nothing else. And they still try to play the other side of the fence too, like we need to upgrade. If they've I think you either do one of two things. You keep renovating like you have been, or you actually propose like, hey, we think this team deserves all new facilities. And this is what we're going to do. Like, quit playing both sides of the fence.
Dude, put in good stuff, redo the facilities, give the fans something. I don't know, but you just can't put everything towards the VIP members. I mean, come on. It already costs $50 to park in the freaking parking lot after you're paying $700 for a nosebleed ticket.
Right, Mike. Of course, in today's economy with inflation, like no one's going, like there's no average person shelling out to go to more than one game a season tops.
Like you said, how has there not been businesses over the past few years start building better hotels and stuff in the area?
That's what I'm saying. This town has done nothing for themselves at all. And then they want to turn around and be like not only did the Chiefs bring in all that traffic to them, all that tourism, all that money into their town, and they do nothing.
Hey, the Chiefs are why we got to pay $100 for a lunch at Q39. Because we're there to watch the Chiefs, and they know that barbecue's where they make their money, and they're going to up barbecue to $100 for a lunch. Come on.
Right. No, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I'm not trying to step on any toes. We don't live there. We have no dog in the fight.
I did like the downtown idea of the baseball stadium. I think that would have been big.
Yeah, that's what
that would have helped
want.
businesses in that area. And did you see? Was it the art district they were talking about?
That
art district is completely.
I don't know.
Dead.
I'm not for sure, but I just feel like for what that having a team like the Chiefs in that area brings to your town, as far as tourism, money spent there, tax dollars spent there, all kinds of stuff. I feel like it was pretty. Like the fact that they gave nothing back, they've not put anything around it or surrounded it with jack crap for years now, and then they want to complain about a 5/8% tax. That's wild.
Hey, Alicia says she's a teacher, can't afford to go to one game except for the coldest game
right,
ever.
Right.
Hey, all you had to show for that was some lost fingers.
Dude, that's wild.
I don't know, man. It's just
look, Mike. I'm a hardcore Chiefs fan, but you wouldn't have caught me dead at that game,
dude. Yeah, that was.
I'm
wild.
watching that one from the couch in the heat.
Isn't it crazy how like every time it could the breeze could blow a little too hard for Josh Allen in Buffalo, and let's move the game, and
right.
then it's funny. I don't know. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I don't really care. I think it is a lot of smoke. I don't think Clark Hunt is going to move the team, but I don't think never say never. So
look,
a lot of people just were very adamant, like, what's not happening? This is blowing smoke. But
close your eyes.
Billionaires do a lot of stuff.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. It's the year 2032.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a brand new state-of-the-art facility built right beside Legends and Children's Mercy Park in KCK. Get used to it, baby. Get used to it.
I don't know.
That's what's going to happen.
There ain't nothing but suburbs over there, though, man.
Is there anything in Raytown? We just talked about this for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. How
like,
far is that out of the city, too?
Not
10
far.
miles?
Not far.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good haul, though, isn't it?
No.
It might not be 10 miles, but I'm just saying, 10 minutes.
I'm just saying, they better get something together. They better quit, because I think they're at a point now where a lot of the team, as far as the Royals go, and even the Chiefs, they might not even want to freaking hear what Jackson County has to say at this point. They might play that card.
Dude, Jackson County's just a big pothole. I'd love to move to Kansas City just so I can get season tickets to the Chiefs, but I wouldn't want to live there. Why do you think all the players live in Kansas? Nobody wants to live in that pothole.
People are going to start throwing tomatoes through the computer screen at you.
Well, I'm just saying, look, everybody knows if you live there, you know that it's a pothole waiting to happen. Like whoever's took over this place, it's nothing but potholes and crime lately. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Jackson County's got to get it together. Come on,
Good
the
stuff.
whole world has to get it together right now. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's not just there. We live right outside of Louisville. Okay, same deal.
Dude, Louisville's a trash heap.
Same
I'm trying
deal.
to get out of here too. Dude, it's horrible.
No, but I figured we'd weigh in on that a little bit. It's just something we hadn't talked about, so I figured we would at least throw our opinions out there for whatever they're worth. They're like opinions
not
are
worth anything.
opinions are like assholes, Mike. Everybody has one, and most of the time they stink.
Yeah. And with that being said,
Yeah. Hey, hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button if you have not. We're going to jet out of here in a minute. If you have any last minute questions, please get those in the chat. Mike, real quick before we take off today, before we look for any more questions, anything pressing? Let's talk about Mike Dana. We mentioned it, but
Right.
how do you like the Mike Dana deal? Do you think I've seen a lot of people thinking it's an overpay. What do you think?
It can't be an overpay if you take his market value, which was $15 million, which means he's got a $45 million deal. That's insane. I think it was a decent deal. Mike Dana is a rotational guy. Again, he's right at about 8 to 10 sacks a year. But will he get to that every season? No. There's going to be times where he only gets to 5 or 6 sacks. But he's been a pivotal piece of winning, 2, 3 Super Bowls. I think he might have been here for all 3 of them, maybe. But so all 3, I think he's a good rotational piece. Do I think that solves the whole entire problem? No. I still just do not think. I don't know why the Chiefs undervalue the defensive end position so little. Like we need to get another elite guy on the other side of George Karlaftis, and this defense could be insane. Like it really could. Mike Dana is a good rotational guy. He really is, but he's just not going to be the elite of the elite, or people would have signed him in the offseason. Nobody threw him any money. What's that tell you? The Chiefs just love to be serviceable in that area, and I believe that that's an area that they could just go get it,
Absolutely. Man, Mike Dana does love Justin Herbert, baby. He always tears him up.
That's about the one game he'll definitely play in, that's for sure.
Well, I feel like Mike Dana's kind of one of those underrated guys. He always performs. He performs well. He doesn't do anything wrong, really. He wasn't worth $15 million a year, so I thought that valuation was a little crappy. But I don't know. I'm okay with it. We definitely need the depth on defensive line. I think you're going to see them address that more in the draft probably. So what about, real quick, Charles Omenihu? Do you think he survives here, or do you think they're going to go ahead and cut him? What do you think?
At this point, it looks like he's going to survive it. If I were Brett Veach, I couldn't do it.
It seems a little weird and
you
odd
miss
to
6
me.
games on him in year 1 due to a domestic. You're going to miss 6 to 8 games this year, minimum, in my opinion. I just think the contract's too rich. I don't think it gives you enough. Was he good when he played? Yeah, but I mean, come on. We're not in the business of charity.
This is true.
So I
don't know. We do have Kadarius Toney on the team.
True, but look at what he's getting paid in comparison.
Right. Yeah.
He's getting like crackers compared to like
totally agree.
filet mignon over there.
I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on too. Is the Charles Omenihu thing, because it just makes more sense to cut the guy. To be quite honest, you're not going to get a restructure out of him because he's already crying about the contract he signed. So
right,
yeah, like his attitude's weird too. I'm just not sure about that whole situation.
I don't dislike him, but doesn't it? He kind of comes off as like ungrateful in a way.
Yeah,
isn't that just the world, though? I mean, come on, this is the new generation. I'm the old guy out here banging the drum about the new.
Telling kids, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. Quit. Dude, I wish I could complain about $10 million a year.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Would be great. I could be able, I mean, with $10 million, I may be able to buy groceries for the month. I might have a little bit left over,
I might be able to buy them for a few days, something like that.
Steve, you'd still be taking out a bank loan with that family you got over there.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Do you think they're going to move the Chiefs to Dallas? Do you see where Dallas is trying to get them to move down there? That would be the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
They are. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. Jerry Jones would never let that happen, by the way. It's just not going to happen.
I don't think he would either, to be honest.
Something else, too. If I'm not mistaken, we're not from Kansas City, so I'm not familiar with the layout or anything like that. But Wyandotte or Wyandotte, I don't know how they say that. They have the county, Wyandotte County. If I'm not mistaken, it's only minutes away from Arrowhead, but it's technically Kansas. Is that a location that they could look at rebuilding?
I think everything's on the table here, but I just think, I think the Chiefs and Jackson County and everybody that wanted all this has to go back to the table, and they've got to say, look, you probably got to separate yourselves from the Royals. You probably have to do better upgrades than just VIP stuff. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think everybody's got to look at themselves a little bit, but I felt like Jackson County and the Chiefs just come out and kind of blamed it on everybody for just being stupid. They just basically said, hey, our proposal was great, and you guys are idiots. And it's like, dude, people just don't have any humility anymore. Just admit that you're wrong about something and move on. Look, I'm wrong about lots of things. I'm wrong about this, probably.
Mike, it's
I don't
okay to
know.
be it's
Who
okay to be
cares?
wrong. It's been a long day, but we appreciate
It's been a
you
long
guys hanging
day.
out with us today. Definitely thanks for hanging out on Saturday night with us. Like I said, if you didn't get to catch Daniel Harms and the conversation we had about the draft earlier, go back and watch that. It's definitely worth the watch. Make sure you're following him on Twitter, InHarmsWay19. Also, follow, give a subscription. How would you even say that? Go over there and subscribe to RGR if you haven't already, which most of you probably have. They
Hey,
also
there's
do a lot
no
of good
way
content there.
Nobody in our chat's not subscribed to RGR, right? They're the OGs.
I'd be willing to bet there's some out there, though. Like, we got to spread the word.
I feel
right?
like RGR has been around since the beginning of time in the Chiefs YouTube space, right?
Yeah, for sure.
They may be the OGs.
Yeah. Also, just a quick shout out too. If you're not subscribed to the Spoken with Lance and Trevor Twidwell, go do that. They're trying to build their YouTube up a little bit. They just do one show a week, so the algorithm probably doesn't love them as much as they do other channels. Go over there and subscribe to their channel, help them out. And also, Scrambling Armchair. He's had an issue with his monetization on YouTube. Go subscribe go be a member on Patreon for him. Patreon.com/ I almost said all chiefed up. Scrambling Armchair. I think he's only charging $1 too, and that would help him out. So just shout out to them.
Right. Iron Price says move the Chiefs to Kentucky. Look, you wouldn't want to move here.
Kentucky could never have a professional sports team. They're too college oriented. It's college basketball, basically. And then, especially NFL team, you'd be right in the dead center of the Bengals, who's basically in Kentucky, the Colts,
And the Titans.
the Titans. It's just not a great spot.
It'd be bad. And where are you going to put it? Louisville's a trash heap. It looks like a downtown zombie apocalypse down there.
Lexington would be the only choice.
Right. And
And
Lexington's tiny.
And it's 65 miles away from Cincinnati, something like that. Not far.
It's pretty close to Cincinnati. It's only an hour out of Louisville, and it's it's a horse race capital. It's nothing but horse farms and breeders
Very rich,
and stuff. So
very rich town.
it's very rich. You could probably put it. It took them forever to get a Rupp upgrade
Yeah, it's true.
for Rupp Arena. So
Who would want to
knows?
upgrade that? Who would want to upgrade
Hey, they
for
don't
that
have money
team?
to bring in the Chiefs, Steve. They got to pay $33.5 million to get Coach Cal out of town.
Somebody
happening anytime
pay
soon.
that. Someone
Hey,
pay it.
Do you think they're going to want anybody to compete with the Lexington? What's their names? The Clockers? What?
The counter clocks.
The Counter Clocks? What stupid name?
Just real quick. It was the Lexington Legends, and they were like the AA team for the Kansas City Royals. But now they're not. There's some other team's farm team, and they changed their name to the Counter Clocks.
The Lexington Counter Clocks.
That's got to be the worst, absolute freaking worst name ever in the history of sports. Mike, I see Iron Price is in the chat, and I think we got something for him.
For the thousands here in attendance tonight and for the millions watching at home on TV. Oh, let's get ready to suck it!
Yeah, we put that
What about
together for
that?
Iron Price.
What about that?
Look at that one. You got that one going now. Dude, who doesn't? Celtic says loves Kentucky. Never seen a place so green.
Kentucky's beautiful.
pretty.
Yeah.
Dude, if you come drive through Lexington, late summer, early fall, like when sun going down, the sky's pink, nothing but horse farms. It is beautiful, but there's nothing to do. It's like watching paint dry around here.
That's everywhere, man. I mean, what is there really to do? In the scheme, what is there really to do?
That's true. I'd
What
like
are you
to be
gonna
sitting
do?
on a beach somewhere. I mean, that's a pretty big thing to do. Yeah, man, we appreciate you guys being here, though. For real, I think we're going to call it a night, Steve. It's been a long day.
Yep. Hit that like button on the way out. We appreciate
Yep.
you guys, and we'll catch you next time. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
There goes a sight from my soul.